Chapter 13. Seeing Lu Cheng's expression, Li Mao couldn't help but laugh. Junior brother Lu, don't be nervous. Being too nervous will affect your performance, resulting in stiff movements and distorted force. Of course, you have to be a little nervous during a martial arts competition. In our professional words, it stimulates the secretion of adrenaline. Therefore, a real martial artist must reach the level of tense but not panic. Alas, I can't do it. I'm so nervous that my body trembles when participating in an amateur ranking event. Fortunately, my opponents were either too weak or even more nervous than me. This was the experience of a senior brother. Lu Cheng expressed his gratitude with his eyes and kept it in mind. Then he took a deep breath to suppress his panic and put on the starting posture taught by Li Mao. His feet were straight and his back was slightly arched, like a wild cat ready to strike. Li Mao also put on the starting posture and said calmly, "Let me show you some moves." After saying that, he took a step forward, put strength in his feet, twisted his waist, and punched his right hand toward Lu Cheng's neck. It was the simplest move, straight to the middle palace. Lu Cheng subconsciously wanted to dodge, and quickly dodged to the side. But at this moment, he suddenly tripped and lost his center of gravity. He didn't even have time to use the coordination and controllability of yin-yang stance, and fell to the ground. At some point, Li Mao's right foot had followed and quietly kicked out. It was not above the ankle, and blocked the direction of Lu Cheng's dodge. In a martial arts competition, it's not that you can't dodge, and it's not that you have to face it head-on, but you must pay attention to the footwork and the opponent's movements. Tripping is a classic move. You just forgot your identity as a martial artist and dodged like an ordinary person. Your footwork was messed up, and your eyes were only on my fist. Li Mao stretched out his right hand and pulled Lu Cheng up, pointing out his mistake. Digest it and we'll continue. Lu Cheng quietly pondered, recalling what had just happened and keeping the problem in mind. Then he put on the starting posture again. This time, Li Mao approached with agile footwork. Lu Cheng opened his eyes wide and watched every move of his body. Is it the right fist or the left fist? Is it a kick or an elbow to the back? If it's the right fist, how can I dodge with footwork? If it's the left fist, will I have a chance to fight back? Thoughts flashed through Lu Cheng's mind as he considered his own countermeasures. However, before he could think clearly, Li Mao had already closed in on him. With a spin of his feet, he stuck close to Lu Cheng's body. Then with an elbow strike, Lu Cheng took 2 steps back. Although Li Mao didn't use much strength, it still made Lu Cheng's chest feel stuffy and painful. Throughout the entire process, his thoughts were in chaos, and he was at a loss. He was even worse than the first time, and he couldn't even make a move to dodge. Lu Cheng was momentarily stunned. Li Mao turned around and smiled. Under normal circumstances, our thoughts are indeed faster. We can think of many things in a second, and our bodies can't keep up with our brains. However, during a duel, it's usually the brain that can't keep up with the body. We think too much, hesitate, and can't make a decision. This is the meaning of repeated practice, and the meaning of battle experience. It allows us to internalize most situations into our instincts, and when we need to observe and judge, we can quickly make a decision. Junior brother Lu, don't worry. Everyone is like this during their first duel. I was even worse than you back then. Sometimes it's easy to imagine a martial arts competition. Lu Cheng laughed at himself. He understood where his problem lay. Once again, he got into his starting position. Li Mao used the same technique again. He stepped forward and punched. The power started from his feet, went through his waist, and went through his spine. Lu Cheng learned his lesson from the previous 2 times. He quickly made a decision. He suddenly lowered his body and was about to throw himself at Li Mao's legs. Suddenly, he felt a heavy weight on his back. Li Mao changed his fist into a palm and pressed down. Lu Cheng's body was just about to leap forward, so he fell to the ground with a light push. He ate a mouthful of mud. Not bad. You maintained your footwork and made a quick decision. But you're still inexperienced. You can't predict the next changes. Li Mao praised Lu Cheng and pulled him up. Lu Cheng was in a good mood. Being able to see his own progress was truly a pleasure in life. Therefore, he became more focused on the sparring session again and again. He slowly mastered the basic moves, the corresponding footwork, and the techniques of exerting force in actual combat. Class is almost over. This is the last time. Li Mao looked at the digital clock, hanging on the wall of the martial arts gym. Lu Qing nodded. He went through what he had learned and the practice in his mind. He had an impulse to try to do something on his own initiative. He stood still and visualized the Jin Dan in his lower abdomen. He half entered the state of steadfast mind. While feeling the subtle changes in his body, he kept an eye on Li Mao. Li Mao smiled at Lu Cheng's cautiousness. He stepped forward and punched again. Lu Cheng leaned his body and shifted his center of gravity to the right. Then he suddenly exerted force to change his muscles. He quickly adjusted his center of gravity to the left. With a sidestep, he dodged Li Mao's fist. However, Li Mao's right leg that followed up with a kick to the left of his own body missed. Chance. Li Mao didn't withdraw his right foot. His center of gravity was unstable. This is the chance. Lu Qing lowered his shoulder and imitated Chen Zhonghua yesterday. He exerted force in his feet and bumped into Li Mao like a fierce bull. Li Mao saw this and hurriedly jumped sideways with the help of his right foot. Then he blocked the side with his hands. Bam! Lu Qing bumped into Li Mao, but he could only push Li Mao one step back. Then Li Mao grabbed his shoulder and stretched out his left foot. He tripped Lu Qing again and fell. Bam! Lu Qing fell to the ground. He didn't look like he was in pain. Instead, he looked a little happy because he had perfectly executed the expected action. Not bad. This is only our first sparring session, and you almost made me fail miserably. Li Mao walked over with a smile and pulled Lu Qing up. But you didn't have enough strength to make me lose my center of gravity. Lu Qing patted the dust off his body and laughed. It's mainly because you used this move too many times. I had an idea. He had only started training a few days ago. Obviously, the increase in strength couldn't appear out of thin air. Senior Li Mao didn't seem to realize that he had used the yin-yang stance. Class is over. Go home and find your mothers. At this time, Geezer sure blew the whistle and shouted, Remember to be on time tomorrow. Well, let's go wash up in the locker room. Li Mao pointed at Lin Kei's back. He was walking into the locker room. In the martial arts club, the locker room was a sacred place. Only qualified and permitted members could use it. If Lu Qing didn't join the special training, he obviously couldn't enter. All the facilities in the martial arts club were funded by the school. Therefore, both the training field and the strength training gym were open to the whole school. Only the locker room was off limits. Of course, the training field and the strength training gym were open to the whole school for a limited time, so as not to disturb the practice of the martial arts club members. After the practice, Lu Qing didn't have the mood to hang around with the rough guy Li Mao. He turned to look at Yin Zhika and found that she and Guiqing seemed to have become friends. They were walking to the female locker room with a smile. Many male students were watching them covetously. They wanted to strike up a conversation, but didn't dare to approach. No wonder the Casanova said that when you took the first step to strike up a conversation, you had already won more than 80% of potential love rivals. 80% of guys didn't even dare to strike up a conversation. They could only watch from afar and act all kinds of touching feelings in their hearts. After hinting to Li Mao that he had something to do, Lu Qing quickened his pace and caught up with Yin Zhika and Guiqing. He deliberately panted and said, How was it? How was the practice? There were only a dozen members in the special training. Guiqing saw Lu Qing and Yin Zhika standing together before, so she didn't feel strange and just watched with a smile. As for Li Mao, who was behind Lu Qing, he shook his head and sighed that these people were more interested in the opposite sex than in humanity. He slowly walked to the male locker room not far away. Yin Zhika pursed her lips and smiled. I'm okay. You're more miserable. We saw you getting beaten up all the time. Yeah, it's my first practice. I'm a bit flustered. While talking, Lu Qing suddenly frowned. He didn't feel the soreness until now. It should be the bruises caused by the practice just now. Seeing this, Yin Zhika smiled and said, Are there a lot of soreness? Yes, Lu Qing answered honestly. Is it because you don't have the medicine wine and ointment to remove bruises? Yin Zhika smiled. Yes. Lu Qing nodded honestly. Yenjika slightly raised her chin and looked around. I know you guys don't remember to prepare these things until you need to use them. Haha, that's why I'm called a rough man. Lu Qing smiled and responded. Yenjika chuckled, with some charm in her beauty. Then she said, wait a minute. I happen to have a jar of extra ointment made by a martial arts family. I guarantee that all your bruises will be gone by tomorrow. Okay. Lu Qing was stunned and suddenly burst with joy. Seeing Yenjika and Guiqing walking into the female locker room, Lu Qing had an impulse to hum a song. He laughed complacently. While laughing, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. Strange gazes were cast at him from all directions. He turned around and saw the group of boys who wanted to strike up a conversation, but didn't dare to. Haha, how long can your enthusiasm last? Maybe you won't come to the special training tomorrow or the day after. Lu Qing criticized them silently. A few minutes later, Yenjika came out with a dark brown glass jar in her hand. She handed it to Lu Qing. Apply this to the bruises and massage for 5 minutes to dissolve the medicine. Lu Qing took the ointment and said in an exaggerated tone, Thank you. You are indeed the kind-hearted Yenjika. Yenjika spread out her hand. 30 yuan. You're welcome. Ah. Lu Qing was stunned with a blank face. Yenjika smiled again and her eyes curved. I'm kidding. You are really haha. Lu Qing was infected by her smile and didn't feel embarrassed. After chatting for a while, they went back to their respective locker rooms. The locker room was very large. There were 3 metal benches against the wall at the entrance for the members of the martial arts club to rest, chat, arrange, and explain their opponents during the competition. There were dozens of locked wardrobes on the opposite wall. Lin Ke, Chun Zhonghua and other members of the special training of amateur rank had their own wardrobes. Lu Qing and the others could only use temporary wardrobes. After passing through this place, there were many cubicles. Each cubicle had a shower, a small compartment for toiletries and changing clothes. At the end of the cubicle was a toilet with 3 squatting seats. Lu Qing picked an open cubicle and was about to enter it when he saw Lin Ke coming out from the side. He was drying his hair and walking forward. Lu Qing nodded and greeted him subconsciously. Lin Ke also nodded slightly but didn't say anything. Lin Ke doesn't look as arrogant as I thought. Lu Qing shook his head. He entered the cubicle, took off his clothes and turned on the shower. It's great that I don't have to line up in the school bathroom. After the shower, he took out the jar of ointment and began to apply it with a smile. In the evening, Lu Qing went back to the dormitory after class. After washing up, he planned to relax. He gathered Kai Zongming, Qin Mo, Tang Wen, Qiu Zhigao and the others to play a game online. He would chat with Yenjika after he went to bed. A perfect day would pass. While he was enjoying the game, his phone suddenly rang. He picked it up and saw a strange number. Who is it? Lu Qing answered in confusion. Hello Lu Qing. It's time to go to bed. Prepare yourself for sleep. A hoarse voice came. It's Geezer. Lu Qing answered subconsciously. Okay. Damn, he's calling to supervise my sleep. I can't live like this. Chapter 14. After hanging up the phone, Lu Qing clenched his teeth. But when he thought of the beautiful future he hoped for, he still got rid of the temptation of the game with great perseverance. He used the excuse of the crash in exchange for a few angry curses. He climbed into bed. There were still 10 minutes before Geezer's bedtime. He sighed and took out his phone. He logged into QQ and clicked open a conversation with Yenjika. Another tired and sore day. Lying in bed, I feel like a dead dog. Woof woof woof. Yenjika replied with 3 words. Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh. You too. I chose the special training. I have to finish it even if I have to kneel. Yenjika sent a cute emoji with arms akimbo. Yeah, I have to finish this semester. Lu Qing didn't dare to brag. He changed the topic. I never thought you would be so different on the internet. That woof 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 just now made me laugh to death. As he spoke, he sent a crying and laughing emoji. Yenjika sent a shy emoji. I don't have the burden of an idol. Unconsciously, Lu Qing was in a good mood. They chatted until 10:30. With unparalleled perseverance, He said goodnight to Yin Jika and fell into a deep sleep with hopes and dreams. The next day, the alarm clock rang on time. Lu Qing woke up with a start. He quickly turned it off for fear of disturbing his roommates. If it weren't for the fact that the new campus was in the suburbs and couldn't rent a house, he would have moved out so as not to disturb others. Lu Qing climbed out of bed and washed his face with cold water. He was completely awake. Then he changed into the third set of exercise clothes, which was also his last set. It was late autumn, and the first set was still in use. It seemed that he had to buy another set to form a virtuous cycle. After brushing his teeth, Lu Qing picked up the key that Geyser asked someone to give him and quietly left the room. He went down the stairs and opened the dormitory door under the dim light of the street lamps. He slowly ran to the lakeside in the silent mist. It was still a few minutes before 5:50, but Geyser was already waiting there with a bicycle beside him. Master got here earlier than me. Lu Qing suddenly felt grateful. He ran over and bowed respectfully. Not bad. I didn't have to call to urge you. Geyser laughed. Before I teach you the other stances, let's do some long-distance running. Long-distance running? Lu Qing asked in confusion. What was the point of long-distance running when he had the Jindan to recover fatigue? Geyser took out a cigarette and lit it. In the body refining stage, it's enough to rely on explosive force, muscle strength and footwork. But you have to remember that the key point of the Danqi stage is not the qi, but the dan. The harmony of the body is almost perfect, and the strength, willpower, and muscles are integrated into one. They work in harmony and have absolute reaction, just like a big dan. Therefore, it's hard for the body to reach this stage without endurance. Why is it that ordinary martial arts schools, high school martial arts clubs, university martial arts clubs, and ordinary martial arts dojos rarely produce martial artists of the Danqi realm, even if they don't lack good pole-standing skills? It's just that they lack similar knowledge. Don't be fooled by my simple words. A single sentence of truth is equivalent to 10,000 books of lies. Disciple understands. Lu Qing was troubled. But do we really have to run? Geyser clicked his tongue and said, Don't be afraid of difficulties, hardships, and tiredness. Which strong martial artist didn't go through this? Don't worry. I'll follow you and supervise you. Then he smiled maliciously. Of course. I'm old and weak. I don't have any stamina. You run. I'll ride. He patted the bicycle beside him. He was very satisfied. Are you sure? Lu Qing looked at Geyser with hesitation and sincerity. Run for me. You're so young. Don't be afraid of tiring. Geyser pulled a long face. After a long time, Lu Qing continued to run in front of Geyser with a straight face. Geyser rode his bicycle and fell behind in the distance. He was out of breath as he pedaled. His lungs were like bellows. Stop, you brat. Stop. You want to tire me to death. Lu Qing stopped and held back his laughter. He deliberately panted and watched Geyser climb mountains and wade through rivers to catch up. What did you eat when you were growing up? Why practice martial arts? Practice long-distance running. Geyser was out of breath. It's you who let me run. Lu Qing's eyes were full of innocence. But this long-distance running was rewarding. Compared to before, his stamina had improved significantly. Unlike the day when he first got the Jindan, he was out of breath after a short jog and needed the Jindan to replenish his stamina. Today, he ran at least several times the distance of normal jogging. In other words, the Jindan's recovery of fatigue would not affect the improvement of his stamina. Because of this recovery, his stamina improvement was far beyond normal. Thinking of this, Lu Qing almost couldn't hide his smile. After a while, Geyser finally calmed down. He said with a dark face, You can't stop running in the future. But you can't be lazy. After that, he took Lu Qing to a quiet place nearby and explained the Thunder Sex lightning and Fire stance's Ice Sex condensation stance in detail. The former was mainly to train the body's explosive force. The latter was to train the senses and improve concentration. Coupled with the yin-yang stance to control the body's coordination, strength training, long-distance running training, and footwork training, They formed a complete training system. According to Geezer, he replaced the thunder sex thunder stance with the ice sex condensation stance. Although the effect was not better, it was more suitable for people like Lu Cheng who had missed the best training time. In pole standing, every extra effort Lu Cheng put in, he could clearly see the corresponding gains. Naturally, he was obsessed with it and didn't slack off. The following special training became more and more diligent. Because there was no class on Thursday night, he relaxed and filled with motivation. On Friday night, Lu Cheng returned to the dormitory with his school bag slung over his shoulder. Before he entered the small room, he heard the laughter inside. What's so lively? He opened the door and saw Kai Zongming sitting in his seat. Did you forget? Today we had a get-together with the girls in the dormitory. Model worker, Zhang Jingye replied with a smile. Hey, how is it? Although Lu Cheng didn't want to go, he was very interested in this matter, and was very concerned about their follow-up. Kai Zongming smiled proudly and said, Cheng, with me there, how could the result be bad? Yeah, we're even considering giving Casanova a new nickname. You don't know, but he completely controls the atmosphere. Just by opening his mouth, he can make the girls in front of him laugh non-stop. For this kind of person, we feel that all his abilities and strengths are in his mouth. Zhao Chang, the head of the dormitory, was also full of smiles. Therefore, according to the naming convention of the Battle of the Kings, we're going to call him Talker. Are you praising me or insulting me? Kai Zongming seemed to be very satisfied with this nickname. Yes, once the Talker comes out, the pack of wolves will bow down, Lu Cheng teased. He raised his eyebrows and said, Don't think you can get away with it. I'm asking about the get-together dormitory. Not bad. Old Chiu held back for a long time and squeezed out 2 words. Kai Zongming smiled and said, Not bad indeed. There's a beauty, a real beauty. Yeah, Zhuang Xiaojun is really beautiful. She looks good without glasses, but she also looks good with glasses. Zhang Jingye echoed. Unfortunately, I heard from Guiqing that she has a boyfriend. Not a boyfriend, just a suitor who is close to you, Zhao Chang retorted. Lu Cheng was stunned. Guiqing. Why does this name sound so familiar? Yes, Guiqing of the martial arts club, the one who trained with you. What a coincidence, fate. Kai Zongming smiled and said, She seems to like old Chiu. Bah, no such thing. Chiu Zhigao quickly denied. I feel the same. She has been asking old Chiu all kinds of questions. You two are a good match. Zhao Chang agreed. Zhang Jingye also said, Old Chiu, don't deny it. When we last talked with Pan Shui, she also said that Guiqing was satisfied with you. Old Chiu, just sacrifice your body. The dormitory will be closer in the future, and Chang, model worker, and Zhuang Xiaojun will have more chances to meet. Kai Zongming joked. Zhao Chang and Zhang Jingye laughed. Old Chiu looked at Lu Cheng helplessly. Cheng, they are obsessed. Only you can do justice to them. Well, Guiqing and Yanzhika's relationship seems to be getting better. Lu Cheng held back his laughter and said righteously, Old Chiu, just give in. Get lost. Old Chiu was angry and amused. Lu Cheng stopped joking and changed the topic. Guiqing, Zhuang Xiaojun. What about the other 2 girls? Pan Shui. One is Pan Shui, the other is Yu Fangfang. Yu Fangfang is introverted and looks, well, average. Kai Zongming said. Pan Shui is small, lively, easy to get along with, and cute. But she has a boyfriend. Zhang Jingye interrupted. Or some South Asian exchange student. From our school? Lu Cheng asked. Yeah, those South Asian exchange students smell so bad. Every time I see them, I want to pinch my nose. I don't know why Pan Shui likes him. Zhao Chang sighed. Old Chiu added. Guiqing said they met at the foreign language corner. The foreign language corner was created for this kind of thing. Zhao Chang said righteously. Yes. Our good girl, damn foreign language corner. Zhang Jingye and Old Chiu agreed. At this moment, Zhao Chang suddenly stood up, took out a book and was about to leave. Hey Chang, where are you going? Kai Zongming and Lu Cheng asked at the same time, confused. Zhao Chang turned around and nodded solemnly. It's still early. I'm going to the foreign language corner to practice my English. Puffed. Lu Cheng almost spat out his saliva. Chang. Why do you always betray the revolution with your thick eyebrows and big eyes? The rest of them laughed. Even Zhao Cheng couldn't help but blush. At this moment Lu Qing's phone rang. It was Geezer. Lu Qing thought to himself, is he trying to rush me to sleep again? Hello. There was someone else in the dormitory, so he didn't call his master. Geezer said on the other end of the phone. Book yourself a train ticket to Pingjiang City at 7 p.m. tomorrow. There's only one train at that time. Ah. Lu Qing was confused. Pingjiang City? Yes, Pingjiang City, Shanbei Province. Geezer said in a low voice. Don't ask why. Wait for me at the train station at 6:30 p.m. tomorrow. Chapter 15. After hanging up the phone, Lu Qing was still confused. Why was he suddenly asked to go to Pingjiang City? Worried thoughts popped up in his mind. Human traffickers, pyramid schemers, did Geezer have another part-time job? Would there be any danger on this trip? Kai Zoming saw Lu Qing's expression and patted him on the shoulder. Let's go, Qing. Let's go out for a smoke. After thinking for a while, Lu Qing followed her out and came to the living balcony. He leaned on the railing with both hands and looked down at the courtyard of Building 7. It was still early before the lights out, so there were many students coming and going. Some were carrying hot water bottles, some were carrying books, some were carrying snacks, and some were in pairs, standing outside the gate under the gaze of the dormitory manager, who was reluctant to leave. Songqing University's dormitory buildings were small communities. Each building had 4 units that surrounded a yard. There were flower beds, street lights, and table tennis tables. Lu Qing's unit was facing the gate. What's wrong, Qing? Kai Zoming took out a cigarette and put it in his mouth. He didn't light it. Yesterday, Lu Qing told his roommates that he had started to quit smoking. Kai Zoming took it as a joke and mentioned it to his girlfriend in a video call. Then his girlfriend forced him to quit smoking, saying that he should learn from Lu Qing's example. Lu Qing decided to reveal a little. Casanova, forget it. I'll call you Talker so you don't keep nagging me. Didn't I sign up for the special training of the martial arts club? Half of it was to pursue, you know. Half of it was because I found that I had the talent of keeping one mind when I was practicing the yin-yang stance. Then Geezer also found it and decided to focus on training me. Kai Zoming's mouth twitched. Chung, we're still good friends if you don't brag. Really? Lu Qing tried to make his eyes look sincere. Kai Zoming stared at him. Really? Really? Lu Qing's tone was unusually firm. Wow, I didn't see it coming, Chung. Kai Zoming knew Lu Qing's character and finally believed him. He patted Lu Qing on the shoulder and smiled. Don't forget your friends when you're rich. If you can become the pillar of the martial arts club in the future, I'll be proud of you when I tell others. It seems that there's a saying that it's easier for a simple-minded person to enter meditation. Can't you say something nicer? Lu Qing glanced at him. Yes. You can't judge a book by its cover. I have eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. Brother Lu Qing, no, Master Chung. Let me ride on your coattails. Kai Zoming said exaggeratedly. The two laughed for a while. Lu Qing continued. Geezer called me out of the blue just now and asked me to book a train ticket to Pingjiang City with him tomorrow night. Pingjiang? Kai Zoming asked subconsciously. The capital of Shanbei Province? Yeah, I don't know where to go, so I'm a little worried. Lu Qing sighed. Geezer was invited by the headmaster himself, so there shouldn't be any problem. Besides, Chung, you don't have the looks, talent, or money. Why would I kidnap you? Maybe it's because of the university martial arts competition. Shanbei University is in Pingjiang. Kai Zoming said sarcastically. That makes sense. Lu Qing nodded. Could it be that Geezer wanted to check out the details of Shanbei University, the champion of last year's university martial arts competition? So he brought his cheap disciple along for a free trip? But why did he have to pay for the ticket himself? Seeing Lu Qing heave a sigh of relief, Kai Zoming suddenly changed the topic and said with a wretched smile. I've heard that some perverted old men are obsessed with the bodies of children or young people of the same sex because of their aging bodies. They want to reminisce about their past. Do you think Geezer will? Bah! Lu Cheng almost vomited just thinking about Kai Zhongming's description, but he was inexplicably scared and worried. What if? It was better to be safe than sorry. Kai Zhongming laughed and then said in a sly tone. But don't worry, Cheng. Even if Geezer sure is a pervert, his target should be Lin Quebec. I'm a talented and good-looking guy, so I won't fall for you. Thank you for your comfort, Lu Cheng said, gnashing his teeth. After Kai Zhongming's interruption, he recovered his mood. He washed his face with the hot water left in the bottle, soaked his feet, brushed his teeth and went to bed. He didn't dare to turn on the computer for fear that he would be too tempted by this bitch to sleep. Lu Cheng lay flat, took out his phone, and went straight to QQ without checking the forum. Let me tell you a piece of gossip. Lu Cheng sent a laughing emoji to Yenjika. After a few seconds, Yenjika replied, What kind of gossip? From high school? No. When I went back to the dormitory after class, I found that those guys had a social gathering with the girls' dormitory tonight. It's from the Chinese department, Guoqing's dormitory. Lu Cheng considered his tone, implicitly mentioning that he didn't join the social gathering. Yenjika sent a dumbfounded emoji. What a coincidence. How did you guys end up at Guoqing's dormitory? Our dormitory's old Chio saw that someone had written a girl's dormitory phone number on the desk in the classroom. They were afraid that it was a prank, so they changed the ending number and replaced it with the number 32 of our dormitory room, 302. Then it turned out that Guoqing's dormitory was right opposite. Lu Cheng shared the whole story. You two dormitories seemed to be fated to meet. Did they agree to the social gathering just like that? Yenjika asked excitedly. Lu Cheng replied with a snickering emoji. Maybe it's because I've just entered the school in my first year. Everything is new to me, and I'm curious about everything. I'm also interested in this kind of random social gathering. When I'm in my second year, I'm more experienced and knowledgeable. That's true. Yenjika sent an emoji of crossing her fingers and holding her chin in deep thought. If we meet in our dormitory, I'll probably agree. It's quite interesting. By the way, it's said that Guoqing has taken a liking to our dormitory's old Chio. Lu Cheng revealed important gossip. Ah, Yenjika sent an emoji of shining eyes. Really? It said that. Several guys in our dormitory can feel it. Her roommates also say so in private. Lu Cheng wasn't sure. Oh. Yenjika replied quickly. What do you think of old Chio? I have to help Qing check him out. He's quite strong, which makes him a good match for Guoqing. He's also quite honest and easy to get along with. He's half a study maniac. Lu Cheng told her his impression of old Chio. Of course, as the source of their dormitory's seeds, old Chio was a good person who benefited everyone. This kind of thing was not worth mentioning. With this gossip, the two chatted happily. Before they knew it, it was already 10:30. Lu Cheng endured the heartache and reluctantly said goodnight, saying that the special training and classes were too busy and tiring. After another round of sparring, Geezer sure announced that today's special training and Saturday's martial arts class were over. The special training on Sunday was postponed to 9 o'clock because he had something to do. This news immediately caused a burst of cheers. For the members who participated in the special training, they could finally sleep for one more hour. After a few days of suffering, most of the freshmen who had clamored to join had left. Only 2 were still persisting. But according to Lu Cheng's observation, he would probably not see them next week. At this time, he saw Yenjika and Guoqing walking over together. They didn't need to be close to him like before. Cheng, right? So it's your dormitory's social gathering. As soon as they met, Guoqing said straightforwardly, What a coincidence. By the way, why didn't you join? I happened to have something to do, so I let little Ming, Kai Zhongming take the place. Lu Cheng glanced at Yenjika and saw that her expression was normal. Guoqing did not ask further. She smiled and said, We're all members of the martial arts club, and we're all in the same dormitory. It's fate that brings us together. Besides, we had a good chat last night. Why don't we pick another time? Next weekend or the weekend after that. Our dormitory mates can go hiking or karaoke, or find a place with barbecue for a picnic. This girl is quite straightforward and very active. Lu Cheng hesitated and didn't directly agree. He was thinking about what excuse he could find to not go. And this kind of thing had to be discussed with old Chiu, Chong and model worker. He couldn't make a decision on his own. But judging from their praise for Zhuang Xiaojun, they would definitely follow. Just as he was hesitating, Guoqing turned to Yanjika and said, Kai Zongming was there yesterday. It's not good to not invite him next time. Including Cheng, there will be 5 boys. Although it doesn't matter if there are fewer girls, you and Cheng are old classmates. Why don't you go together? Yanjika said with interest. Okay, it's my first social gathering. Then it's settled. Next week or the week after that. Lu Qing agreed without hesitation. As for Chong and Xiaoming's opinions? Who cares if they die? Guoqing's face was full of joy. Okay, let's go back and calculate the schedule. We'll see which day is suitable. This conversation was really pleasant. A group of boys in the peak of their hormones naturally agreed to the request of the social gathering dormitory without any hesitation. Kai Zongming was also very interested in similar activities. Saturday afternoon was a rare break for Lu Cheng. He browsed the forum, read novels, chatted with Yanjika, and played games with his roommates who didn't go out. He felt relaxed and comfortable, which he hadn't felt in a long time. At 5 o'clock, he stuffed his change of clothes into his school bag and went out to take the school bus to the downtown area. Then he booked a taxi online to go to the train station. Fortunately, Mom gave me an extra 800 yuan this month. Otherwise, I wouldn't have enough money. Lu Qing followed the crowd and went through the security check step by step. He touched his wallet while he was at it. When he arrived at the ticket gate, it was only 6 o'clock. He chatted on the forum and QQ group while waiting for Gizershur's arrival. At 6:40, Gizershur arrived in his old t-shirt. He praised Lu Qing. Not bad, you're very punctual. During the morning practice, Lu Qing was very focused and didn't ask much about going to Pingjiang. When he saw Gizershur, the crazy words of Kai Zongming suddenly flashed in his mind. He couldn't help but take a step back and put some distance between them. Why are you looking at me like that? Gizershur looked at him in confusion. No, nothing. I'm just curious about what we're going to do in Pingjiang. Lu Qing said dryly. Damn it, it's all because of little Ming's nonsense. I'm a little confused because of him. I'll let you know when it's time. Gizershur didn't care. When the time came, Lu Qing got on the bus and sat down. Lu Qing was very nervous and uneasy. He only answered Gizershur's questions. Fortunately, their tickets were not in the same carriage. He let out a long sigh of relief. It was only an hour and a half from Songqing to Pingjiang. Lu Qing took a short nap and arrived at this historical provincial capital. They got on the taxi. As expected, Gizershur's destination was Shanbei University. Lu Qing relaxed a little. But soon, he became nervous again because they stepped into a hotel that looked like a guest house. If it was a standard room with 2 beds, 1 room, Lu Qing felt a little nervous. 2 rooms. Gizershur took out the money and ID. Hearing this, Lu Qing finally calmed down. He cursed Kai Zongming in his heart for spouting nonsense. Starting tomorrow at the usual time, Gizershur said before entering the room. It was a silent night. Lu Qing could occasionally hear the heart-wrenching coughs next door. The next day at 5:40 a.m., he finished washing up and left the hotel with Gizershur. They entered the campus of Shanbei University. They came to a corner of a big sports ground. Gizershur observed for a moment and pointed at a boy who was practicing slow motion in the distance. Do you see that guy? Lu Qing gazed over and saw that Shanbei University was still submerged in the night scenery. Under a ginkgo tree, yellow leaves fluttered in the wind. A boy in a white martial arts suit was practicing his martial arts. Lu Qing could barely see his face because of the darkness, but he could feel his high level of martial arts from his punches and kicks. I see him. He answered, puzzled. He came to Pingjiang just to see this boy. Gizershur chuckled. His name is Peng Liyun. He entered Shanbei University last year. At that time, he had already reached the realm of body refining Big Dan and Qi generation. He was a professional 8th pin fighter. After that, he defeated the head of the martial arts club and led Shanbei University to the semifinals. He won the National University Martial Arts competition. He's Peng Liyun? Lu Qing had heard this name many times in the forum. He didn't expect to see the real person today. He was said to be a genius among geniuses. He had a good chance of reaching the top 3 pin. Gizershur nodded slightly. He is a direct disciple of the Shangqing sect, and the nephew of the current warrior sage Qian Donglu. He liked to think since he was young and often said, martial arts need to be derived from nature. What is nature? Physics and biology. That was why he chose to enter the physics department of Shanbei University last year. The reason I brought you here is to show you that this kind of true genius, a genius with status and background, does not slack in the slightest on the martial path. No matter how much he likes to play, go to bars and play games, he will start on time at 5:30 every day. No matter what day you come, you can see him. You see, we came here on a whim, but we still saw him. Even such geniuses are working so hard. If you want to catch up to them, how can you not suffer more and suffer more? Lu Qing was surprised at Peng Liyun's background at first, but he was gradually shaken by Gizershur's words. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, and if he had been mentally prepared, such a scene might not have had such an effect. But when he and others came to Shanbei on the spur of the moment, they still saw Peng Liyun getting up at 5 o'clock a.m., working day and night, and persisting in training. He could not help but be shocked. Only when there was a comparison could there be enlightenment. This was a real genius. He was like this, let alone himself. You saw and understood. Then you can go back. Gizershur turned around and left with his hands behind his back. Chapter 16. After the trip to Pingjiang, Lu Qing felt that he had calmed down, really calmed down, from the inside out. In the past, he had gritted his teeth and persevered with great perseverance in the face of hard training every day. He was even firmer because every little bit of effort paid off. But in the end, he had to be patient in order to achieve the professional 9th pin in 1 or 2 years. For the sake of winning Yenjika's favor, for the sake of a bright future, he was eager for quick success and instant benefits. This kind of mentality could indeed drive him to practice hard in a short time. But when he encountered certain setbacks, when his achievements were not as expected, he would inevitably feel even more depressed and lost, tormenting his mind and bringing unpredictable consequences. Guard against arrogance and rashness. It was a good rule from ancient times. He was not arrogant, but he was restless. After calming down, Lu Qing gradually integrated the daily training into his life. He was calm, gentle, and firm. Even his temperament seemed to have changed, which made Kai Zhoming quite surprised. He often teased, "Did Cheng encounter the unspoken rules? Why do I feel that his temperament has changed a lot?" Facing his words, Lu Qing only said a few words indifferently. "Come here, I'll strangle you." 2 weeks passed unknowingly. Lu Qing felt that he seemed to have broken through a bottleneck and stepped into a new level in yin-yang stance, thunder and fire stance, and condensation stance. His ability to coordinate his body at will improved significantly. His temporary explosive force in 2 or 3 moves improved significantly. His concentration and calmness in martial arts competitions improved significantly. His slightly myopic eyes seemed to have recovered their original clarity. Sometimes he could even feel others' gazes. It was Saturday morning again. It was close to 12 o'clock. Li Mao stopped smiling and said solemnly, "Cheng, this is the last time." Lu Qing nodded slightly and got into position, waiting for the second-year senior brother to feed him. Li Mao did not simply go straight for the middle like 2 weeks ago. With a step he swam to Lu Cheng's left side. His right hand became a palm knife, diagonally chopping toward Lu Cheng's neck. Lu Qing did not panic. He raised his left arm and blocked Li Mao's palm. But before he could counterattack, Li Mao took another step and came behind him. But when Li Mao's foot landed, Lu Qing kicked back without warning. It seemed that he had been prepared. "All right," he praised and took another step forward, dodging the kick. Then he used his footwork and circled around Lu Qing like a dragon. At this point, Lu Qing no longer had to deliberately maintain his half-silent and half-alert state. His mind seemed to be divided and converging at the same time. He focused on observing his opponent's movements while calmly and quickly making decisions, countering each move as it came. He firmly defended himself and didn't get flustered by Li Mao's swimming body palm. After fighting for a while, Li Mao's footwork suddenly changed. He suddenly slid closer and followed up with a rushing step cannon fist. His fist was like a cannon, and the wind roared. It had the power to split open a mountain. Lu Qing didn't dare to take it head-on. He turned sideways and pushed his wrist. However, one of Li Mao's feet had already come in between his legs. If he placed it well, it could be used as a fulcrum for his throwing technique. At the same time, it could also affect Lu Qing. Lu Qing wouldn't dare to use his various footwork, making it difficult for him to exert his strength. Seeing this, Lu Qing's mind was full of ideas and countermeasures. However, he didn't hesitate and made a decision in an instant. He took a step back. Li Mao took a step forward, and he took another step back. Again. It was as if the two were dancing a tacit dance, and the distance between them didn't change much. Li Mao exhaled and stopped trying. He slid closer and used his feet as a source to drive his waist and back. His fists alternated like a chain of cannons hitting rapidly. Lu Qing felt like he was in a storm and could be overturned at any time. He had to use all his strength to maintain his balance. However, he didn't lose his composure. He used his fists, elbows, and arms alternately to block. There was a sense of rhythm. His footwork wasn't messed up, and he kept himself in a relatively suitable position to exert strength. Under this kind of attack, if his footwork was messed up and he couldn't exert strength, he would be defeated in an instant. Lu Qing struggled to hold on with the chain cannon fist, tiger roar, and wind roar. He completely forgot about the passage of time. Just when he felt that he was about to reach his limit, Li Mao retreated, and the pressure suddenly disappeared. He looked at him blankly, and saw Li Mao shaking his head and smiling. Time's up. The coach blew the whistle and dismissed the class. This is our first tie. Lu Qing heaved a sigh of relief. Only then did he feel sore in his hands. He shook them and smiled. Thanks for your mercy. This wasn't modesty but the truth. Because it was just a teaching practice, Li Mao didn't use his full strength. It was more like a form of feeding. You can't say that. If I didn't practice with you every day for more than 2 weeks, and feel your obvious improvement every day, I definitely wouldn't believe that you are the same Chung from before. Li Mao said with emotion. More than 2 weeks ago, you were a super rookie, who didn't even fight much. You weren't fast, you weren't strong, and your reaction was slow. But now, you are worthy of the evaluation of proficient fist and foot. Proficient fist and foot. Lu Qing chewed on these words, and felt a little joy in his heart. Although proficient fist and foot sounds like a description for a beginner, it is one of the standard evaluation for an amateur ninth pin. Li Mao said with a smile. Senior brother, you mean I've reached the level of an amateur ninth pin? Lu Qing asked with surprise. In less than 3 weeks, he had already reached the level of an amateur ninth pin? Li Mao nodded. Proficient fist and foot means you have the ability to use your moves skillfully and reasonably in a fight without messing up your footwork. This alone is better than 90% of the guys who fight randomly. So you must be an amateur ninth pin. Haha. But an amateur ninth pin doesn't necessarily mean proficient fist and foot. Some people have 2 obvious physical advantages. And the ranking event is a competition, not a form of evaluation. They take advantage of the fact that others can't break their defense and can knock down their opponents with one punch. They don't pay much attention to the proficiency of fist and foot movements. Well, I'll say it again. If I didn't practice with you every day, I'd probably ask my girlfriend to come out and watch the Emperor. Do you know how long it took me to reach the level of an amateur ninth pin from a beginner? I started martial arts at the age of 10 and passed the ranking event of amateur ninth pin at the age of 15. Although I didn't practice every day, it was 5 years. 5 years? You've only been practicing for 3 weeks. Lu Qing wasn't ecstatic. Instead, he smiled calmly and said, It's different. Most people who practice martial arts at a young age are in the growth period of their bodies. Their strength and other physical qualities grow little by little. It takes several years for them to be comparable to adults. But I'm already an adult. I don't need to wait for my body to grow up. Although it's true, It still proves that you have a strong talent. It's a pity that you didn't learn martial arts at the beginning. You missed the best time to practice martial arts, Li Mao said with regret. Then he patted Lu Cheng on the shoulder and walked back to the locker room. Looking at his back, Lu Cheng recalled the joy just now in his heart. 3 weeks to reach the level of an amateur 9th pin. When school starts next year, what rank will I be? Let's not talk about the long term. For now, my improved explosive force, calmness and concentration, as well as my improved coordination, haven't been fully integrated into my moves and footwork. There's always a faint barrier between them. When I break through this barrier and integrate them into one, what level of amateur pin will I be? Thinking about these things, Lu Cheng walked quickly to the female locker room and caught up with Yin Jika and Guiqing. The weather is so good today. It seems that God is blessing us, he said with a smile. After arranging everyone's time, the get-together was set for this afternoon. They would gather at 1:30 p.m. and go boating at Jiaoshan Lake. They would have a good meal in the evening, considering that Lu Cheng, Yin Jika and Guiqing had to get up early for special training. They didn't go to karaoke after dinner. Yin Jika's black hair was tied up in a ponytail, which made her look more playful and energetic. I've always been the Tera Bozu. I've never seen rain in all the spring and autumn outings I've participated in since I was young. You should thank me. Lu Cheng was about to take advantage of the situation and say, okay, I'll treat you to dinner or send you snacks, to thank you to show my sincerity. But Guiqing interrupted impatiently. We're going to meet later. What's the rush? You guys are not troublesome. It's just a meal. We have to clean up and wash our hair. Lu Cheng almost blushed at her words. He smiled and said, then I'll go take a shower first. See you in the afternoon. See you in the afternoon. Yin Jika waved her hand with a smile. Lu Cheng resisted the urge to look back and entered the locker room. He sighed slightly in his heart. Through persistent conversations, greetings, pleasantries, and the natural closeness of a classmate, his relationship with Yin Jika was getting better and better. She even started to call him by his nickname Cheng. But he always felt that something was missing and couldn't go any further. Just like in high school, there was always some politeness between a boy and a girl who didn't flirt with each other, but had a good relationship with each other. What should he do next? After taking a shower and having lunch, Lu Cheng returned to the dormitory. He saw Zhao Chang, Zhang Jingya, and Qiu Zhigao were all choosing clothes to appear in front of the girls with their most energetic looks. Kai Zongming was beside them giving instructions. Not bad. Talker, you're so good, Lu Qing teased. Kai Zongming laughed. It's not that I'm good. It's just that they usually dress too single, including you. Lu Qing glanced at him, and then turned to look at the busy dormitory. He lowered his voice and said to Kai Zongming, Casanova, do you think this guy wants to show off just because he knows some martial arts? Yeah. A hero uses martial arts to break the rules. Kai Zongming looked at Lu Cheng from head to toe and pretended to be frightened. Cheng, don't tell me you're thinking of putting that slogan into practice? You'll go to jail. What are you thinking about? Lu Cheng laughed and scolded him. What I mean is, when I didn't know any martial arts, if I went out with Yin Jika, I definitely hoped that it would be a safe trip. No black cars, no hooligans, no road robbers. In short, it would be a smooth trip without any twists and turns. But now, I'm kind of looking forward to meeting some hooligans in the afternoon. If I meet some brainless rich second-generation official, then I can be the hero to save the beauty. Kai Zongming didn't refute. He just calmly replied, wake up. Your goddess is better than you. And there's old Qiu, an amateur 6th pin, and me and Guiqing. You won't be the hero to save the beauty. You're right. Lu Cheng's mouth twitched. Well, there's no way to trick him. Chapter 17. Watching Zhao Chang change his clothes and take the gel to the bathroom, Lu Cheng suddenly felt a little nervous. He wasn't as calm as when he was practicing martial arts, neither arrogant nor impatient. Talker Casanova, what should I wear? He asked shamelessly. Kai Zongming crossed his arms and said proudly, now you know to ask me? Wear your martial arts suit if you have the ability. People like Chang, model worker, and old Chiu, who have neither good looks nor temperament, should wear light-colored clothes. At least they look clean and energetic. You used to be like them. But have you taken the wrong medicine recently? You're so obsessed with practicing martial arts that you've become like a human and a dog. You've become more sophisticated. You can wear dark-colored clothes. Just wear that black casual shirt of yours, and that short leather jacket, the brown one, which looks more energetic. Hey, don't tuck in the shirt, and don't pull up the leather jacket, it's old-fashioned. Lu Qing changed his clothes according to little Ming's guidance. He looked at himself in the mirror, and found that he looked pretty good. He had a sense of calmness, but he did not lose the vigor of a college student. As for Zhao Chang, Qiu Zhigao, and Zhang Jingya, although they all followed the basic principle of cleanliness, Kai Zongming deliberately chose them to distinguish them. He did not want to be mistaken as a dormitory uniform or work uniform. After getting ready, they followed Kai Zongming out of the dormitory excitedly and nervously. They went to the agreed meeting place. "Talker, what should I do later?" Lu Qing asked in a low voice, taking 2 quick steps and walking side by side with Kai Zongming. Kai Zongming laughed and said, be generous, be generous. Men can't be timid. Besides, your goddess is not familiar with Guoqing's dormitory, let alone us. In this strange environment, she will naturally be close to and rely on her acquaintances. Guoqing's attention is on old Chiu, so here's your chance. Boldly approach her, talk to her, and lead the conversation. Just like how you chat on QQ, she will only be happy and not cold. As for the specific details, I can't guide you, so it's up to you. Just remember the general principle of being generous and generous. Chat on QQ like how I chat on QQ? Damn, I feel like I won't be able to chat without emojis. Lu Qing took a deep breath. Then remember a rule. When you don't know how to answer, make her laugh. Guys can be humorous, but they can't be vulgar. At least not before you two are very intimate. Kai Zongming patted Lu Qing's shoulder and said, calm down and relax. Anyway, I don't have high hopes for you. It doesn't matter if you fail. Just treat it as gaining experience. Lu Qing glanced at him in disdain. After being mocked by him like this, the tension in his heart faded a lot. They agreed to meet at the east gate of the school. After waiting for about 10 minutes, 5 girls walked over gracefully. Lu Qing noticed Yenjika at first glance, and completely ignored the other girls. Because she was going to row a boat, she didn't wear a skirt. Instead, she wore a pair of slim-fit light-colored jeans, a pair of small white shoes, and a white t-shirt. The pattern on the front of her chest was slightly inlaid with sequins. She wore a light green jacket on the outside. Her hair was down, and she didn't have bangs. She looked delicate and lively with a bit of purity and cleanliness. Those who dare to show their foreheads are real beauties. Kai Zongming laughed in a low voice. Zhao Chang, Qiu Zhigao, and Zhang Jingya also saw Yenjika at first glance. No matter where she went, she was always the center of attention. They slightly opened their mouths and looked at Lu Qing in surprise. Although they knew that Lu Qing's old classmates would participate in this social gathering, they didn't expect it to be such an old classmate. Beside her, Zhuang Xiaojun, who they thought was very pretty, was completely overshadowed by her. Cheng! Zhao Chang shouted. Ah! Lu Qing looked at him blankly. Zhao Chang said bitterly, I understand now. A dog that doesn't bark really bites. You said I betrayed the revolution. You are the real traitor. His words made Kai Zongming and the others burst into laughter. Lu Qing couldn't help but blush. When the 5 girls came closer, Lu Qing silently said 3 words. Be generous, be bold. While saying these words, he stepped forward and greeted them with a practiced smile. He said to Yenjika, I thought girls would be a few minutes late. I didn't expect you to be early. Fortunately, we are early. Obviously, Yenjika didn't feel awkward at all. Instead, she relaxed a bit because of the acquaintance. She pointed at Guoqing beside her and said with a smile, Qing is always resolute. She dragged us here. She even washed her hair at noon for this get-together. As soon as this was said, the few girls beside her snickered. A short girl even echoed, Yes, a special shampoo is very important. Guoqing was a bit shy even though she was a straightforward person. She quickly introduced them to Lu Cheng. This is Zhuang Xiaojun. That bitch is Pan Shui. This is Yu Fangfang. Lu Cheng glanced around casually. Zhuang Xiaojun was wearing glasses. She looked refined and delicate. Her facial features were indeed good-looking. Pan Shui had neat bangs and baby fat. She wasn't tall and was going for the cute route. Yu Fangfang's skin was darker, and she wore black-rimmed glasses. After greeting them with a smile, Lu Cheng quickly introduced his roommates to Yin Jika. That foppish guy is Kai Zhongming. That guy with thick eyebrows and big eyes is Zhao Chong, our leader. Don't be fooled by his righteous face. In fact, he is the one who instigated this social gathering. Zhang Jingye, Qiu Zhigao Old Qiu. They are honest, but they are all in love. The slightly teasing introduction made the girls laugh. Zhao Chong and the others were both angry and amused. The atmosphere suddenly became lively. Yin Jika covered her mouth and laughed for a while. She lowered her voice and said to Lu Cheng, "Aren't you afraid of their revenge? Don't worry. I am an upright person. They don't have anything to blackmail me." Lu Cheng pretended to be righteous. Kai Zhongming secretly gave him a thumbs up and mouthed, "Cheng, you are good." Zhao Chong and the others also took the opportunity to make fun of Lu Cheng and liven up the atmosphere. But they all had a tacit understanding, and there was a limit. They only made fun of each other on a superficial level. No one really mentioned the embarrassing things that would ruin the girls' impression of each other. While talking, Lu Cheng noticed that Yin Jika was carrying a small black bag on her back, which made her look charming. In her hand was a white cardboard bag with unknown contents. He took a deep breath and pretended to be normal. He pointed at the white bag and said, "Let me help you carry it. Otherwise, if a girl carries something and a boy is empty-handed, we may be criticized on the internet. People may say that the boys in our country are not gentlemanly." Yin Jika glanced at his frank and slightly humorous words. Then she smiled and said, "Okay, Cheng, gentlemanly." "Yes," Lu Cheng shouted in his heart. He reached out and took the white bag. He smiled and joked, "That's not right. Nowadays, gentlemanly means perverted. I am righteous." The girls were again amused by his self-deprecating words. Kai Zhongming quickly signaled Zhao Chong, Qiu Zhigao, and Zhang Jingye to take the other girls' bags. He himself was responsible for Yu Fangfang's. After chatting for a few minutes, the 3 cars that Lu Cheng and the others had arranged for arrived. All 3 cars were parked outside the east gate. Kai Zhongming had already instructed Lu Cheng on how to distribute the cars. Lu Cheng plucked up his courage and pulled Qiu Zhigao with a smile. "Old Qiu, let's share a car." While speaking, he gave Yin Jika a wink. Yin Jika immediately understood. She held Guoqing and said, "Qing, let's also take that car." The others immediately joined in. Old Qiu couldn't refuse and had to follow Lu Cheng on the left side of the back row. Lu Cheng thought for a while and sat in the passenger seat. Yin Jika pulled Guoqing, who was a little shy, and squeezed her in the middle. She squeezed herself in the right side. The engine sounded and the car started moving. Lu Cheng didn't care about the distribution of the remaining 6 people. He took out his phone and secretly sent a message to Yin Jika. "Old Qiu and Guoqing are both strong. You are so pitiful to be squeezed in the back row." Yin Jika's phone vibrated. She took it out and glanced at it. Suddenly, a smile appeared on her face. She also joined in the conversation and quietly replied, "Alas, fortunately I am slim. For Qing's happiness, I have to endure it. You don't know how straightforward and outgoing she is. Today, she doesn't dare to speak. If I don't accompany her, she definitely won't dare to take this car." Lu Cheng and Yin Jika tacitly created a topic to guide Qiu Zhigao and Guoqing to talk, while they secretly communicated on QQ. It was as if they were on the same side and shared some secrets, which made Lu Cheng feel that the relationship between them seemed to be closer. Because the journey was not long enough, the group of 10 people arrived at Jiaoshan Lake in just over half an hour. They rented orange life jackets and 5 two-person rowing boats by the lake. The girls left their paper bags and backpacks at the lake. Kai Zhongming took charge of the situation and distributed the boats with a smile. Since it's a friendship party, it must be a combination of men and women. Let's see which boat can row around the island first. Old Chiu, you and Guoqing will be in a group. Well, we are both strong. It's not fair for you to be in a group. Old Chiu made a last-ditch struggle. To be honest, Guoqing's facial features were not bad, but her body was a little thick. You're a rough man, and you've never rowed a boat before. Maybe you'll offset Guoqing's efforts. Besides, I've asked around. Guoqing knows how to swim. You're a landlubber. With her protecting you, we can rest assured. Kai Zhongming's nonsense attracted the agreement of the girls. Old Chiu was confused and agreed. Kai Zhongming continued. Lu Cheng, you and Yenjika are classmates, so you're more familiar with each other. You're in the same boat. Model worker, you're the big guy from the northwest. Help our petite classmate Pan Shui. Chang, you lead Zhuang Xiaojun and show your talent as a top student. You Fangfang, we're in the same team. We can't lose. Usually, in such a crowded situation, many people didn't have their own opinions and just went with the flow. Or they had their own opinions, but were too shy to speak out. Therefore, one or two active, positive and bold people could take charge of the situation. Today, Kai Zhongming was like that. He forcibly finished the distribution, and no one had much objection. Kai Zhongming patted Lu Cheng's shoulder quietly and whispered in his ear, Cheng, this is all I can do for you. Chapter 18. It was late autumn. The sky was clear and the air was cool. The waves of Zhaoshan Lake were rising and falling. Lu Cheng wanted to help Yenjika onto the boat, but she was as agile as a deer. With a light leap, she stood firmly on the boat, barely causing it to sway further. Sure enough, her martial arts level is higher than mine. Not only can't I save the beauty, I don't even have the chance to help her. Lu Cheng mocked himself. Considering his strength, he boarded the boat according to the rules and sat opposite Yenjika, each with an oar. I was going to give you a hand. Yenjika snickered and made fun of him. The lake breeze blew her black hair that reached her back. So a beauty saves a hero? Lu Cheng pretended to be shocked. Casanova said that when you don't know how to answer, you have to make her laugh. As expected, Yenjika couldn't help but chuckle and ask, Cheng, do you know how to row a boat? No. Lu Cheng answered honestly. Before high school, he didn't have the time. During the summer vacation after graduation, he spent more than 2 months binge-watching highlights of martial arts competitions and all kinds of news. He kept meeting with his childhood friends and gradually immersed himself in the online world. How could he have the time and interest to go boating? Yenjika pursed her lips and blinked her black eyes. She said seriously, what a coincidence. I don't know how to, Lu Cheng laughed. Aren't you a Jiangnan girl? Kai Zhongming, Yu Fangfang, Zhao Chang, and Zhuang Xiaojun had already rowed slowly. Qiu Zhigao, Guoqing, Zhang Jingye and Pan Shui were circling around. But I grew up in Xiushan. Besides, there are many Jiangnan girls who don't know how to swim or row. My 2 cousins don't know how to do it. Yenjika said with anger and amusement. Lu Cheng knew when to stop and didn't ask about Yenjika's family situation. He smiled and said, It seems that nothing can be generalized. Well, since it's such a coincidence that you don't know how to row, it'll be interesting to learn how to row together. Yenjika nodded slightly. She held the oars with both hands and pointed to Zhao Chang and Zhuang Xiaojun with her chin. Look at them. They row well. Let's learn. Okay. Lu Cheng looked over and followed Zhao Chang's movements, moving the oars. The oars entered the water, creating green waves and ripples. However, the hull of the boat did not move forward. Instead, it swayed in place. Yenjika joined in the paddling. She was like a young girl picking up a chestnut. The sky and the water were like a beautiful painting. However, their boat still didn't move forward. It was spinning in circles. They looked at each other helplessly and found it funny. Lu Cheng was determined to show that he had long thought about rowing the boat. At this moment, he was not in a hurry. He sank his mind into his dantian, visualized the Jin Dan, and entered meditation. Immediately, the surroundings became peaceful. The vast nebula rotated slowly, and the details of every part of his body appeared bit by bit. He could feel the ups and downs of the boat, and the surrounding waves through their contact with each other. As the boat swayed, the oars dropped, stirring up ripples on the water. Lu Qing saw how the power circulated in his mind. He used this to slightly change his direction and posture to match the boat's movement. At the same time, he found that Yin Zhika, who was on the opposite side, suddenly became proficient. Every stroke of the oar complemented the boat, the waves, and his side. Opening his eyes, Lu Qing met Yin Zhika's eyes. You've reached the initial level of yin-yang stance? You've mastered yin-yang stance? Both of them opened their mouths at the same time. Each of them was surprised. Then they looked at each other and smiled. As a boy, Lu Qing took the initiative to answer before Yin Zhika asked again. Actually, I'm very talented in meditation. I was able to conceal spirit and qi on my first try of yin-yang stance. Otherwise, how could I survive the 3 weeks of special training? Yin Zhika's expression changed. Her bright black eyes showed obvious surprise. You entered meditation on your first try? Yes. Lu Qing nodded sincerely. Unconsciously, Yin Zhika pouted her lips and exhaled. I thought it was amazing that I could enter meditation on my first try in 10 days. Special case, special case. I'm not as good as you in other aspects. And it's really amazing that you could enter meditation on your first try in 10 days. Many famous masters only entered meditation on their first try in half a month. Lu Qing hurriedly comforted her. The two of them talked about various things that happened during the martial arts training. However, they neglected to ask about each other's progress. You don't have to comfort me. Do I look like such a stingy person? Yin Zhika laughed and dispelled her little depression. She nodded heavily and said, From now on you're my idol. It's rare to enter meditation in one day in the history of martial arts. Don't. I can't accept it. Lu Qing was secretly proud. He modestly changed the topic. What's your level now? I seem to remember that you didn't have a level when you signed up for the special training. It wasn't seemed, it was definitely. The two of them rowed tacitly. The boat slowly set sail. Yin Zhika thought for a while and said, I learned martial arts from my uncle when I was a child. I should have reached the level of amateur 9th pin when I graduated from junior high school. But I didn't attend the ranking event. So I didn't have much time to practice in high school. According to Qing, I should be between amateur 7th and 8th pin when she first practiced with me. But after I got started with yin-yang stance, I think I've improved a lot. Qing said yesterday that I've reached amateur 6th pin. At the end of the sentence, her tone was slightly raised, showing a little pride and a little playfulness. Awesome. You've improved by at least 1 pin in 3 weeks. I'll make you my idol. Lu Qing deliberately picked up Yin Zhika's words. According to Yin Zhika's experience, it was normal for her to reach amateur 4th or 5th pin when she entered the school, if it weren't for the emphasis on learning in high school. The reason why she could improve by 1 pin in 3 weeks was that she had guided the accumulation and potential that she had but hadn't shown yet. It was totally different from Lu Qing, who had started out as a rookie in 3 weeks. Listening to Lu Qing's half-joking and half-sincere praise, Yin Zhika's cheeks reddened and her smile widened. But then she suddenly thought of something inside. Her expression was a little melancholy and gloomy. What's wrong? Lu Qing asked with concern. Yin Zhika didn't stop rowing. After a dozen seconds of silence, she said in a low voice, According to the ancient saying, I'm congenitally deficient. If I hadn't practiced martial arts since I was a child, I'd probably be an invalid now. But my body is always damaged and can't be made up. I'll never be able to reach the level of danqi and have a real glimpse of martial arts. So every time I see a young genius, I'm very envious and worship. It seems that I've put my expectation of martial arts on them. Listening to Yin Zhika's words, Lu Qing felt helpless and sad. His heart was suddenly filled with tenderness and pity. He wanted to say loudly, Let me carry your dream of martial arts on my back. But some things were better done than said. Bragging now would only make her think that he was joking about this kind of thing. It was too frivolous. It wasn't until now that he understood why Yin Zhika worshipped Lin Kei like other girls. And why she said, Everyone has their own future. It doesn't have to be martial arts. She was not only talking about him, but also herself. Senior brother Li Mao, who practiced with me, said that I've reached the level of amateur 9th pin. He looked into Yin Zhika's eyes and said calmly and firmly, Yenjika was stunned. You've reached the level of amateur ninth pin? She knew clearly that 3 weeks ago, Lu Cheng was just an ordinary person with no martial arts foundation. But after only 3 weeks, he could become proficient in punching and kicking. Coupled with his talent of meditation, what level could he reach in 3 months, a year or a half? Senior brother Li Mao said so. Lu Cheng said concisely. Yenjika stared at him, her eyes as dark as a deep pool. After a while she said in a low voice, "You have to do your best." "Okay." Lu Cheng nodded heavily. While talking, they didn't stop their movements. They cooperated well, and soon caught up with Qiu Zhigao and Guiqing. When they were about to pass by each other, Guiqing suddenly raised the oar and splashed water at Lu Cheng and Yenjika, forcing them to try to dodge and slow down the boat. "Qiu Zhigao, you row the boat. I'll stop them," Guiqing said arrogantly. Yenjika was annoyed and amused. She looked at Lu Cheng and asked, "Do you want to fight back?" Looking at the eagerness in her eyes and actions, Lu Cheng said without hesitation, "Yes. You row the boat well." Yenjika bit her lip with a smile in her eyes. She also used the oar to raise waves. Lu Cheng put on his jacket and focused on observing the changes of the boat and the waves. He rowed at the right time to offset the shaking caused by Yenjika's movements and kept the boat moving forward. As for old Qiu and Guiqing, as long as Guiqing made a big movement, the boat would inevitably shake, so she had to be careful. Both of them had learned the basics of yin-yang stance, so they had a good grasp of coordination. With a good cooperation, they had an obvious advantage. Soon, they overtook Guiqing and old Qiu and caught up with the others, causing screams and splashes. They had a lot of fun, with continuous laughter and curses. When they overtook everyone, they were the first to return to the starting point after circling the lake. Lu Cheng and Yenjika looked at each other again and smiled. Again, I, Doraemon, am not satisfied." Kai Zhongming and Yu Fangfang were the second to arrive, and said exaggeratedly in online language. Round after round, the girls had a lot of fun, but they were also tired. Seeing that the sun was setting, they suggested to go back early, so that they wouldn't have to wait in line for the big meal in the evening. As for the cost, led by Lu Cheng and Kai Zhongming, the boys had already collected enough money. The boat stopped at the shore. Lu Cheng, the long-distance runner without any fatigue, got off the boat easily and reached out his hand to Yenjika. At this time, she was exhausted. She shouldn't have the strength to jump off directly, right? Lu Cheng's heart beat faster, but Yenjika didn't feel bashful. She frankly grabbed his hand and got off the boat. At this moment, even though she had the advantage, she was splashed with a lot of water. Her hair was wet, with a few strands sticking to her cheeks, revealing an amazing beauty. It reminded people of the phrase, "A hibiscus comes out of clear water." "What's wrong?" Yenjika brushed the messy hair on her cheeks. Lu Cheng thought for a while and smiled politely. "Every time I see a girl in a TV series with her hair still wet after washing, I think it's very beautiful." Yenjika's eyes were watery. She glanced at him. "I'm going to change first." Lu Cheng suddenly understood. "That bag you're carrying is clothes?" "Yes, it's easy to get wet while rowing. How can I not bring a set of clothes to change?" Yenjika smiled. "A rough man like you probably can't think of this. I have a leather coat, so I'm not afraid of getting wet." Lu Cheng wiped the water droplets on the short leather coat. "Smart, right?" Yenjika rolled her eyes at him and walked quickly to the storage area. Seeing her back disappear at the door of the female locker room, Lu Cheng was overflowing with joy. He couldn't help but walk back and forth, unable to stop. After all the things that happened today, the politeness between him and Yenjika had completely disappeared. Her horizontal and white lines were the proof. Although there was still a long way to go before they could hold hands, at least their relationship had improved. After returning to the school through an online taxi, the group of 10 people went to the famous Old Lee restaurant in the nearby town. The most famous dish here was the white kidney beans stewed with pig's feet soup. The soup was milky white and fragrant. The soft white kidney beans were full of all kinds of essences. It was the most delicious and made the girls hungry. After dinner, Lu Cheng and the others strolled back to Songqing University. Along the way, They talked about the embarrassing and stupid things they had done in the afternoon, which made them burst into laughter from time to time. When they arrived at the second building of the female dormitory, there was no awkward silence. Yinjika lived in the third building not far away. Lu Qing sent her off and said goodbye to her in front of the gate. See you tomorrow for the special training. Lu Qing smiled and waved. Yinjika smiled faintly and waved her hand. See you tomorrow. Seeing her enter the dormitory, Lu Qing knew that she would be busy taking a shower. Instead of chasing after Kai Zongming and the others, Lu Qing strolled to the lake. I'm so happy today. If I don't exercise to vent, how can I sleep? In the woods by the lake, Wu Dong, a senior member of the martial arts club, was drinking and smoking with two friends he had met in the society. The new campus of Songqing University was only free to enter and leave on weekends, except for express delivery. Don't mention it recently. It's so damn depressing. Since Lin K came in, I can't stay in the martial arts club anymore. They don't even look at me. Wu Dong drank a mouthful of beer with a gloomy expression. A young man with a tattoo on his neck said, You and Brother Chen can't beat him? I don't dare. We're about to graduate. How can we find a job if we get punished? Wu Dong flattered himself. Suddenly, his eyes froze and he snorted. What's wrong? Another young man with a buzz cut followed Wu Dong's gaze and saw Lu Qing jogging towards them with a smile on his face. A bastard from the martial arts club, Wu Dong said grumpily. The tattooed young man smiled. Hey, what a coincidence. How about we teach him a lesson? That's not a good idea. You can run away, but what about me? Wu Dong wanted to vent but didn't dare to. Don't worry. We know what we're doing. Just teach him a lesson. The buzz-cut young man had nowhere to vent his energy. He was eager to try. Students fight and don't get hurt. Who will tell the teacher for no reason? How about we go and you don't show up? P.S. It's Monday again. There's a chapter at midnight. Please recommend it. Chapter 19. Wu Dong had been holding a grudge for a long time. Encouraged by the buzz-cut young man, he nodded slowly after a few seconds of silence. Okay, I'll keep an eye out for you. Okay. The buzz-cut young man stood up and stretched his body. The tattooed young man put down the beer bottle and asked cautiously, How's that guy? What amateur pin is he? Wu Dong laughed. Don't worry. He's just a rookie. He's not even an amateur ninth pin yet. You can beat him easily. The young man with the brush cut and the tattooed young man dropped out of school early and began to mingle in the underworld. They often got into fights, so they had some martial arts experience. In order to rise up, they deliberately befriended Chen Zhonghua and Wu Dong to learn proper martial arts. Over the past 2 years, although they ate, drank, gambled, and smoked a lot, they practiced diligently and often had practical practice. Both of them had reached the level of amateur 7th pin, so Wu Dong trusted them to teach Lu Qing a lesson. Isn't it easy? I promise you'll be satisfied, Brother Dong. The buzz-cut young man laughed. The tattooed young man thought for a while and said, Wait a minute. Which one of you can speak Northeastern Chinese? Teach me a few words. What? Wu Dong and the buzz-cut young man were both confused. The tattooed young man explained, Songqing University is the best university in Songqing. It's famous all over the country. If we mess around here, it's easy to get into trouble. We know what we're doing, but we can't guarantee that accidents will happen, right? Maybe some professor or teacher will bump into us, right? It's dark now, so we can't see the faces clearly. I'll speak Northeastern Chinese later. If something really happens, they won't find us, right? Yes. Wu Dong was most afraid that they would be found out and get him into trouble. The buzz-cut young man was puzzled. Which professor or teacher would come here in the dark? Isn't it nice to have a date with a female student in the dark? The tattooed young man answered with a lewd smile. Along the lakeside path, Lu Qing jogged to the place where he usually practiced his stance. Half of Weishui Lake was illuminated by the lights of the dormitory and teaching areas. It was as if a silver sea was hanging upside down. Every drop of light was dazzling. The other half was dark and quiet, with the occasional street light projection. At the edge of the lake was a place where a stone could arouse many pairs of wild mandarin ducks. Observing the surroundings was a martial artist's habit. After a period of hard practice, he had turned it into an instinct. While running, he saw two figures coming out of the woods by the lake, so he subconsciously looked at them. The tattooed young man immediately shouted, "What are you looking at?" "Nothing, I'm sorry." Lu Cheng was stunned. He didn't expect that this could lead to a quarrel. He didn't want to cause more trouble, so he replied in a modest tone. Although practicing martial arts gave him courage, and he had thought about the scene of a hero rescuing a beauty, when it really happened, his usual character and habits took over. Moreover, Geezer Sure had said that modern society was a legal society. Being brave and fierce was not a good thing. As a martial artist, he was not afraid of trouble, but he should try not to cause trouble. Motherf *Ker. How dare you talk nonsense? The tattooed young man only learned a few words in a hurry, and didn't dare to say more. He signaled the buzzcut young man to block Lu Cheng's way, and moved himself to cut off his escape route. Lu Cheng was not a fool. The other's aggressive behavior was soon reflected in his mind. He made a judgment in his heart. They are here to cause trouble. And judging from their footwork, they were obviously at the level of amateur ninth pin or above. Ordinary people practice martial arts and don't pay attention to footwork. If they can keep their footwork in a fight, they must be martial artists. The two of them were not far from each other, the kind of distance where they could start a fight immediately after cursing. Seeing that the young man's palm was about to hit his face in the next second, Lu Cheng suddenly dodged to the side, quickened his pace, and ran into the woods with a whoosh. Ran into the woods, ran away, ran away. The buzzcut young man and the tattooed young man looked at each other, stunned for a moment. Did he just King run away? According to their experience, when encountering a verbal conflict, everyone would first try to explain or argue. Even if there was a possibility of a fight, the coward's reaction would be to beg for mercy, while the hot-blooded and brave guy would try to fight until it was obvious that he couldn't win. Who would have thought that the guy just now would run faster than a rabbit, without even saying a few words? *CK. Run. Let's see where you can run to. The two came to their senses, spat, and ran quickly to catch up with Lu Cheng. The muscles on their faces were twisted and hideous, a little embarrassed. Lu Cheng didn't dare to stop because of the hurried footsteps behind him. He passed through the sparse woods by the lake. Relying on his familiarity with the terrain, he soon arrived at the road outside the woods, which was the place where he usually practiced his endurance. This road led to the teaching area on one side, and extended to the small hill of the school on the other side. The hill was not very high, only about 10 meters high. It was more appropriate to call it hill, because the biggest library in Songcheng was built there. The road circled around the hill, and went straight to the vast western area that was still under construction. Lu Cheng turned and ran to the hill. The buzzcut young man and the tattooed young man ran through the woods. Seeing Lu Cheng running to the hill, they were both delighted. This guy is running away in a panic. If he had run to the teaching area, they wouldn't have dared to make trouble for him. But now they would give him a good massage later. When the two ran through the woods, Wu Dong, who was waiting for a good show, couldn't sit still. He was afraid that they would lose their temper and make a big mess, which would involve him. He hurriedly followed behind and tried to catch up with them. The buzzcut young man and the tattooed young man, who lived a life of eating, drinking, whoring, gambling, and smoking, soon began to pant. The distance between them and Lu Cheng widened little by little. They gradually felt like giving up in their hearts. *CK. Thinking of the time when I ran 5 streets in one breath. At this moment, they found that Lu Cheng in front of them had also slowed down. They looked at each other and smiled, with excitement and cruelty in their eyes. We can't run anymore. And this guy can't run anymore. Hold on a little longer. When we catch up, we'll teach him a lesson. Mustering their remaining courage, they circled around the hill and arrived at the West District, which was still a wasteland. As they chased, the distance between them gradually closed. However, after running for a while, the young man with the buzz cut could no longer hold on. He stopped and panted heavily. You're right. F asterisk CK, huff F asterisk CK, this guy, F asterisk CK, F asterisk CK, he's too good at running. The tattooed young man ran 2 more steps and couldn't take it anymore. He bent down and put his hands on his knees, watching Lu Cheng's figure getting farther and farther away. I can't. He spoke like a bellows, his chest heaving violently. Wu Dong also caught up at this time. He was gasping for breath, and cold sweat was dripping down his forehead. Seeing that the two had stopped moving forward, he heaved a sigh of relief. He stopped not far away, and repeatedly retched. It seemed that he was almost out of breath. Forget it, there's no need to waste time. Smoking hurt the lungs, which controlled the breath. After running for such a long distance, Wu Dong felt a little dizzy. As soon as he finished speaking, his eyes suddenly froze. In the darkness ahead, he saw a figure running back through the desolation. It was Lu Cheng. You, the tattooed young man, and the buzz-cut young man gasped in astonishment. How dare this guy run back? They looked at Lu Cheng, and saw that his face was as usual, and his breathing was steady. There was no sign that he had run for such a long distance. What the F asterisk CK, what kind of monster is this? The buzz-cut young man, and the tattooed young man suddenly felt a sense of horror. Looking at the 3 of them who were gasping for breath, and distancing themselves from each other, Lu Cheng smiled without saying a word. Suddenly, he took a step forward and threw a punch. The power under his feet was transmitted to his waist and back, leading to his fist. He gathered all the power in his body, and hit the buzz-cut youth in the middle of his chest with a mighty force. The buzz-cut young man was about to dodge and counterattack, but his hands and feet were so sore that he almost couldn't catch his breath. He was too slow and was directly hit by Lu Cheng's punch. Bam! In the muffled sound, the buzz-cut young man was hit in the middle of his chest. The pain in his bones made him almost stop breathing, and he took 2 steps back. Lu Cheng's footwork was not messed up. He followed closely and pressed on his 2 shoulders. Then he tripped him, and threw him toward the tattooed young man who was besieging him. The tattooed young man who was also weak in arms and legs staggered. Of course, Lu Cheng wouldn't let go of this opportunity. He took a step forward, twisted his waist and kicked the tattooed young man's left shin. Ah! The tattooed young man screamed. Although his bones weren't broken, he was in so much pain that he hugged his leg and rolled on the ground. Like the buzz-cut young man who was almost out of breath, he lost his ability to fight for a short time. After getting rid of them, Lu Cheng looked at Wu Dong who was struggling to come closer, and said with a smile, "So it's senior brother Wu who wants to teach me a lesson. Then I have no choice but to ask for your advice." Wu Dong looked gloomy and panted, I'm tired, but you're not tired? We're the same. I'm an amateur second pin master. Who do you think you are? Sorry, I'm not tired. Lu Cheng calmly got into a fighting posture with an eager look in his eyes. Although Wu Dong was an amateur second pin master, his master had told him that his body had been hollowed out by smoking and drinking. Now he was tired, weak in arms and legs, and had difficulty breathing. If he didn't dare to challenge and fight in this condition, what was the point of learning martial arts and practicing boxing? P.S. Please recommend me to the homepage. Chapter 20. Without saying anything, Lu Cheng lowered his center of gravity and stepped forward, pouncing on Wu Dong from both sides. Lu Cheng had only been practicing martial arts for 3 weeks, so he had only mastered the basic movements and simple moves to the point where he could use them in actual combat. He hadn't had time to learn the more complicated moves. But humans were different from animals because they were good at observing and imitating. In the face of Wu Dong, who was much stronger than him, he instinctively wanted to do better. In his mind, the footwork of Chen Zhonghua during the fight with Lin Ke suddenly appeared. Chen Zhonghua moved forward crisscrossed and attacked like a terrifying poisonous snake. Compared to Chen Zhonghua, Lu Cheng was obviously not as proficient and detailed in this footwork. But he had been practicing the yin-yang stance for a long time, so his body coordination was quite good, and his spirit was highly concentrated. Under the condition of half meditation, he could easily and subtly adjust his center of gravity. When he stepped to the left, his center of gravity was slightly to the right. When he stepped to the right, his center of gravity was slightly to the left. It was hard for Lu Cheng to distinguish his real target. Even Wu Dong, who had been practicing martial arts for many years, felt that this was a thorny problem. In the past, when he was sparring with Chen Zhanghua, he was still able to see some clues when facing the snake steps and make a prediction. But now, when this kid, whose footwork was obviously not practiced enough, pounced on him, he was unable to give a definite answer. Just when he thought that his real target was indeed to the right, the next thought swayed to the left. Is he really a rookie who has only been practicing martial arts for 3 weeks? Is he a guy who pretends to be weak? Hesitation was the most taboo in a fight. Wu Dong was experienced in actual combat and had participated in several amateur ranking events, so he naturally understood this principle and always followed it. But at this moment, there was not much he could do. Under normal circumstances, if he couldn't judge whether the snake steps was real or not, he could still use his footwork and move around, which was his strength. But after chasing for such a long distance, his legs were sore and his breathing was not smooth, so he couldn't use his strength. If he continued to move around, it would be suicide. Alas, I can only stay on the defensive. Wu Dong took a stance and didn't react hastily. In the face of this, Lu Cheng was a little happy in his heart, because this was the situation he had envisioned when he first planned. He didn't expect it to actually come true. At first, he didn't notice that Wu Dong was chasing after him. He just wanted to use his strongest long-distance running ability to wear down the 2 hooligans who were deliberately causing trouble and take advantage of their weak state to strike back. When he noticed Wu Dong, he deliberately slowed down to lure them to run more, so that he could squeeze their strength as much as possible. But his master had said that Wu Dong's body was exhausted by smoking, drinking and playing, so the function of his lungs must be severely reduced. When his strength reached the limit, it would be difficult for him to take a breath in a short time. Under such circumstances, Wu Dong, who was known for his agility, dexterity, guerrilla warfare, and sneak attacks, would not be able to display his strengths at all. He would be forced to defend his position, just like what was happening right now. Shifting his center of gravity and taking a step forward, Lu Cheng suddenly flashed to Wu Dong's right side. Exerting strength from his feet, he channeled all his strength through his spine to his right hand. Then, as if he was holding an iron hammer, he clenched his fist and smashed down viciously at Wu Dong. Whoosh! The punch was so fierce that Wu Dong couldn't tell whether the snake steps was real or not, so his reaction was a bit late. But he firmly defended his position and fought inside with both hands, so the distance he covered was significantly shorter than Lu Cheng. He was able to block Lu Cheng's right fist in time. When the two collided, Lu Cheng didn't feel that Wu Dong had the upper hand in strength. He suddenly realized that Wu Dong was indeed still gasping for breath and couldn't exert all his strength. Even though he was a master of amateur second pin, he was still at a disadvantage. Lu Cheng took a step forward with his right foot and blocked in front of Wu Dong's legs to prevent him from exerting his footwork. His left hand used the force of his right fist to block Wu Dong's right hand and punched directly at Wu Dong's abdomen with abrupt force. Wu Dong couldn't dodge, so he had to take the blow head-on. With a bang, their bodies met. Lu Cheng exerted strength in his feet, slightly leaned to one side, and lowered his elbow to hit Wu Dong again. He had to take advantage of Wu Dong's current condition and force him to fight in close quarters, which was his weakness and his current fatal problem. If he couldn't catch his breath, the result would be clear. If he fought on the move, he would give Wu Dong a chance to catch his breath. Bang, bang, bang. They exchanged several blows. Wu Dong had been practicing martial arts for many years and was very experienced, so he didn't show any flaws. Lu Cheng blocked Wu Dong's attack again with both hands, but he was keenly aware that Wu Dong's body was swaying slightly. This was like a rock that had finally loosened under a violent storm. Wu Dong couldn't catch up with his strength. Lu Cheng lowered his waist and adjusted his body's fine details. He quickly adjusted his center of gravity and threw out another punch. Bang! Wu Dong's stance was broken by the punch, and he staggered back. But he was smart enough to not give Lu Qing a chance to pounce on him again. He rolled to the side to avoid the punch. Seeing Wu Dong rolling on the ground, Lu Qing felt a little happy. He had forced Wu Dong, an amateur second pin, to this point. Victory was at hand. He closed the distance with a sliding step, and was about to give Wu Dong a whip kick like Lin Ke did. At this moment, Wu Dong narrowed his eyes, and grabbed a handful of dirt behind him with his left hand. He threw it at Lu Qing. Lu Qing didn't expect this at all. Seeing the dirt flying at him, he closed his eyes subconsciously, put his left hand in front of his face, and tried to move sideways. But he was in a hurry. Some dirt got into his eyes, making them sore and painful. He couldn't open them for a while. His mind was in a mess, and he was at his wits' end. Bang! Lu Qing felt a pain in his back as he was punched. He lost his balance and fell forward. The familiar situation and experience made him calm down instinctively. He adjusted his body and tried to change his center of gravity. When one calmed down, one's mind would be clear. Lu Qing recovered from the fall and realized that he was at a disadvantage because of his lack of combat experience. Now he had to stay calm and not let Wu Dong take advantage of the situation to attack him. The Jindan rotated slowly, the nebula contracted and expanded, and the muscles in his body adjusted harmoniously. Lu Qing staggered a few steps and regained his balance. At the same time, he changed his direction with every step, narrowly avoiding the attack behind him. Lu Qing found that he still couldn't open his eyes. He couldn't stop his tears, as if he had been beaten. He was surrounded by darkness, and didn't know where Wu Dong would come from. What was more frightening was that he didn't dare to make a big scene. He didn't attack the vital parts of the short-haired young man and the tattooed young man. It wouldn't take long for them to recover their basic combat strength. Calm down. Calm down. Lu Qing made a decision. He visualized the form of condensing water to ice in his mind. He felt that all kinds of distracting thoughts were frozen, and his senses became very sharp. Condensing water stance of the ice sect. Everything seemed to be quiet. Contrary to the yin-yang stance, the condensing water stance focused on the outside. He could hear the sound of wind and footsteps, and the air was filled with a faint smell of alcohol. Lu Qing vaguely sensed that someone was coming from his left through his ears, body, and other senses. He remained calm and raised his hands slightly, as if he was making a defensive move, and waiting for his eyes to recover. Lu Qing suddenly changed his visualization when the heavy breathing entered his ears. He visualized a scene in his mind where a silver-white lightning struck a tree and ignited a flame in an instant. Lightning and fire stance of the Thunder sect. As soon as the lightning and fire appeared, Lu Qing's muscles wriggled naturally. He felt his tailbone go numb and his body sink, as if he was struck by lightning. Then a hot current surged out from his spine and closed all the pores all over his body. It was like a prairie fire that completed a terrible outbreak in an instant. It burned through his waist and back to his left leg. His left leg looked normal, but it suddenly tightened and kicked sideways without warning. Bang! Lu Qing felt that he had kicked something solid and vaguely felt bone under his foot. Then he heard a cry of pain and the sound of someone falling to the ground. It's done. He kept calm and didn't put down his defensive posture. He just rubbed his eyes, and with the help of his tears, the dust finally flowed out and restored his vision. From blurred to clear, Lu Qing saw Wu Dong rolling in pain on his left side, as if he had kicked him in the thigh. The brush-cut young man and the tattooed young man had just recovered, but were still unable to stand up. Phew! A real battle is really different from a pair practice. Lu Qing secretly heaved a sigh of relief and felt a pain in his back. If it weren't for his yin-yang stance that had reached the realm of inward vision with the help of the Jindan, the condensation stance that had improved his senses and attention, and the lightning and fire stance that had a terrible outbreak in an instant, he would have been beaten by the experienced Wu Dong. The yin-yang stance, the lightning and fire stance, and the condensation stance seemed to be easy to master. However, as the basic stances of the Thunder sect and the Ice sect, they had their own difficulties. That was how to meditate, how to visualize, and what to visualize. Without any explanation or guidance, even if one was given a complete introduction, Only 1 out of 1,000 people would be able to successfully master the stances, according to the description. Among them, the yin-yang stance was the foundation. It didn't limit what to visualize, but taught how to enter meditation, how to visualize, how to hold the spirit, and how to guard one. Even so, after Geezer had taught him on the first day, he had spent 3 weeks guiding and correcting his mistakes. However, until now, it seemed that only he and Yin Zhika had mastered the yin-yang stance. Even Guiqing, Li Mao, and Sun Jian couldn't do it. As for Lin Ke, it seemed that he had practiced it before. After today's thrilling and fierce battle, his stance and fighting style had finally crossed the threshold and started to integrate into one. However, he still couldn't judge the specific level of his strength. After relaxing, Lu Qing suddenly felt scared. Just now, he had been reckless and wanted to try a real battle. When his qi and blood had calmed down, he was worried about how to clean up the mess. Fighting was punishable by punishment. If he didn't know how to control his strength, he would have no choice but to cry behind bars. Fortunately, Zhang Xian had controlled his strength and didn't aim for Wu Dong's vitals. Only when he kicked Wu Dong was he unable to control it, because he couldn't see. However, seeing Wu Dong stop rolling and rubbing his leg, Zhang Xian didn't think it was a big deal. It's true that heroes break the rules with their martial arts. Lu Qing suppressed his worries and kept calm. He thought for a while and smiled at Wu Dong. "Senior brother Wu, you're about to graduate from your senior year, right?" Wu Dong covered his leg and looked up at Lu Qing in surprise. He felt that the freshman in front of him was very calm and had pointed out his weakness with one sentence. He didn't see any trace of worry at all. Then he thought of Lu Qing's sneaky kick and his calmness when he couldn't open his eyes. He suddenly felt like he didn't know him at all. Under his gaze, he couldn't help but look away. Chapter 21. Was this still the same inexperienced freshman? Was this the same guy who was so flustered during the sparring session 3 weeks ago? For the first time, Wu Dong doubted his own brain. Students who could enter Songqing University before the special recruitment of martial arts were all intelligent. However, the contradiction between what he knew and what he saw now made him feel like his cognitive world had been turned upside down. Could it be that he was dreaming? Seeing that Wu Dong was shocked by his words, Lu Qing exhaled quietly and pretended to be profound. The on-campus recruitment will begin in October. Senior brother Wu, you're still in the mood to deal with 2 hooligans. But I still have to thank you for your guidance just now. It helped me improve my martial arts. The on-campus recruitment was a job fair on campus. It was usually held in the first half of the senior year. When it came to the next semester, the number of job fairs would decrease sharply. Most of the time, one would have to rely on the internet to find a job. Lu Qing's hidden meaning was that this matter would be treated as a martial arts competition. Neither of them would spread the news, and Wu Dong would have to focus on finding a job in the on-campus recruitment. Otherwise, if things got out of hand, Wu Dong would have to bear more responsibility if he fought back with 2 hooligans on campus. Wu Dong might even be praised by the school for fighting back after being bullied by the hooligans. At most, he would be punished. Wu Dong's face was gloomy. After a long time, he said, "Junior brother Lu, the new generation is replacing the old. I'm just giving you some guidance. Don't worry too much." As a martial artist, he often came into contact with similar things. His tone was inevitably similar to that of the ancient times. "I still have to thank you, senior brother Wu." Seeing that Wu Dong gave in, Lu Qing smiled and cupped his hands. He glanced at the tattooed young man and the buzzcut young man and started to run again. As for the 2 gangsters, Lu Qing didn't think it was a big deal. Lu Qing didn't think it was a big problem at all. Songqing was the best university in the country. If gangsters dared to bring people to break into the school and bully students, they must be tired of living. If they wanted to block him outside the school, unless they didn't want to make a living, they would keep an eye on the school every day. Who would take a fight as revenge for the murder of their father? Once the hot blood was over, there would only be trouble when they met by chance. Seeing that Lu Qing's footsteps were light as he started running again, sweeping past them like a gust of wind. The short-haired youth and the tattooed youth looked at each other, dumbfounded. F*CK, he can still F*King run. The young man with the brush cut looked as if he had seen a flying saucer. This is a monster. The tattooed young man rubbed his eyes. Once again, a sense of fear rose in their hearts. It was the fear of an inhuman. Back in the dormitory, Lu Cheng didn't want to line up in the bathroom, so he took a cold shower in the bathroom. Their dormitory's toilets had water pipes, shower heads, and washing machines, all of which were provided by Chin Mo, the rich second generation. However, he had only used them once and was rarely seen. As for the problem of the counselor's inspection, Lu Cheng had only seen the counselor 4 times in class meetings since school started 2 months ago. He had never encountered one in the dormitory. Anyway, the new campus was a closed management system, so there wouldn't be any major problems. He could just leave it to the class committee. After changing his clothes and drying his hair, Lu Cheng walked out of the bathroom and bumped into Kai Zongming, who was watching a martial arts live broadcast in the living room. Hey Cheng, where did you go just now? Why are you only back now? Don't tell me you got it? Did you go to the woods? Kai Zongming winked at him with a gossipy expression. Lu Cheng thought for a while and asked back. What do you think? I think the revolution hasn't succeeded yet. Comrades still need to work hard. Your goddess isn't easy to woo. Otherwise, you wouldn't have had a chance. But as long as you work hard, even an iron rod can be ground into a needle. If you keep up your performance today, there's still hope. In reality, it's like a flower stuck in cow dung. A blind cat will meet a dead mouse. Kai Zongming encouraged and teased him. Lu Cheng glared at him and walked to the simple sofa to sit down. When he was about to lean on the sofa, he felt a sharp pain in his back, which made him gasp. Wu Dong's attack was really not bad. Little Ming, help me rub the bruise, Lu Cheng said as he got up and walked to his dormitory. He had to ask for help for the bruise on his back. Ah, Kai Zongming was confused. You didn't force yourself on her and get beaten up by your goddess, did you? What the hell are you thinking about? Lu Cheng said grumpily. In the dormitory, Zhao Chang and Zhuang Xiaojun were on the same boat today. They had a good chat and were trying to calm down while doing homework. Zhang Jingye got Pan Shui's QQ and chatted with her while watching a movie. He also asked about the interesting things in their dormitory. Xiao Zhigao stood by the window and looked at the street lights outside deep in thought. Lu Cheng held back his laughter and took the bottle of ointment from Yinjika. He returned to the living room and handed it to Kai Zongming. He sat down and took off his t-shirt, revealing the bruise on his back. What the hell? What did you do? Kai Zongming was confused and surprised. Didn't I send Yinjika back to her dormitory? Thinking about the progress today, I was so excited and happy that I couldn't calm down at all. So I went to the lakeside to practice my stance. Lu Cheng didn't hide anything and told his friend what had happened just now. Kai Zongming unscrewed the bottle cap and laughed. You and Chang are brothers, right? One needs to do homework to calm down, and the other needs to practice his stance by the lakeside. Haha, not only are the feelings of young girls poetic, but so are the feelings of young men. Erotic poems. Lu Cheng ignored his teasing and said, Then I met 3 hooligans and had a fight. No wonder. Kai Zongming poured the ointment on his hand and applied it to the bruise on Lu Cheng's back. You're so brave after learning martial arts. You didn't suffer any losses, right? A trace of coolness entered the wound and relieved the pain. Lu Cheng narrowed his eyes comfortably and said, No, I beat all 3 of them down. Wow, you're awesome, my brother. You've only been learning martial arts for 3 weeks. Did Geezer sure secretly teach you some unique moves? Kai Zongming put the glass bottle on the sofa and rubbed the ointment hard, making Lu Cheng grimace. Do you know which school and which department those hooligans are from? We can't let them go so easily. Wu Dong from the martial arts club. Lu Cheng coughed lightly and said casually. Wu Dong from the martial arts club? Then let's call old Chiu and go find them. Wu Dong from the martial arts club? Wu Dong from the senior year? Kai Zongming raised his voice and lost control of his strength. Lu Cheng almost jumped up from the pain. Damn, I shouldn't have pretended to be tough at this time. Lu Cheng regretted deeply. Yes, that Wudong who recruited us into the club. Kai Zoming stopped and said, Chung, I don't study much. Don't lie to me. If you can beat Wudong, I'll beat Lin Kai. Lu Qing hid his pride and said, It's true. Wudong is addicted to smoking and drinking. He's half disabled. When I saw the three of them, I turned around and ran. But when I ran, I found that they couldn't straighten their backs and started to pant, so I went back. But Wudong is really good. He almost beat me down in this situation. Kai Zoming suddenly understood and continued rubbing the ointment on Lu Cheng's bruise. I knew it. You can't beat Wudong in a normal fight. But to be able to beat him and the other two hooligans in this situation, you must be at least of amateur ninth pin, right? Senior brother Li Mao said I'm almost there. Lu Qing answered frankly. 3 weeks of amateur ninth pin. Kai Zoming was silent for a while, and then pretended to exaggerate. Coach, I want to join the special training too. Lu Qing smiled and said, You'd better continue to be a talker, a career with a bright future. Kai Zoming sighed while rubbing Lu Cheng's bruise. Actually, I'm really surprised to see you make such great progress. I'm also a little touched to see you working so hard for the martial arts competition dream. The last time I was so serious was when I was chasing after my current girlfriend. You want to come? Lu Qing looked at the TV in front of him. It was a professional martial arts competition between Shirvo Sect and Guanwai League. Both of them belonged to the highest level and were good at physical martial arts. One side of their bodies was shining with a metallic luster, while the other side had a strong recovery ability. Their injuries were healed in the blink of an eye. Kai Zongming laughed dryly. I'm just saying, but I'm still reluctant to sleep in and play games. Then how did you practice martial arts in the past? Lu Qing couldn't imagine how Kai Zongming had persevered in the past. Kai Zongming rubbed away the effect of the medicine and patted Lu Cheng's back. He praised, You're strong and elastic now. At that time, the son of the richest man in our small rundown city was kidnapped. After extorting a sum of money, he was killed. Everyone was in a panic. My family's financial situation was not bad. My parents were very worried and sent me to the martial arts center to practice martial arts. During those years, the martial arts center in our city earned a lot of money. You need someone to supervise you before you can practice martial arts. By the way, did you catch the kidnappers? Lu Qing asked curiously. Of course they did. The martial arts administration of the police department sent people down and blocked them on the mountain. They shot them to death. It was said that their bodies were broken. Kai Zongming talked about the past in his hometown. While chatting, Lu Qing logged into QQ and sent a smiley face to Yenjika. I had a lot of fun today. Thousands of words, tens of thousands of words. Excitement and happiness were all condensed into this one sentence. When the martial arts competition ended and Shizhou Sect won by a narrow margin, Lu Qing returned to the small dormitory. Yenjika replied with the same smiley face. Me too. These 3 short words made Lu Qing feel a little warm. Yenjika continued to send messages. I was watching the Shirvo Sect's competition just now. The Lion King is still as powerful as when we were young. The Lion King Shang Yud was the top expert of the Shizhou Sect. He was nearly 50 years old and was a great master in Lu Cheng's childhood memory. He had won 6 titles, including the Lion King. What a coincidence. I was watching it too, but I only saw half of it. I had a practice match with someone by the lake. Lu Qing couldn't wait to share the actual combat experience with Yenjika. Because of her own regrets, she was a fanatical martial arts competition enthusiast. She should be interested in this kind of thing, right? Chapter 22. Yenjika replied quickly, Practice? Are you hurt? It was followed by a stunned emoji. Seeing that Yenjika's first reaction was to care whether he was hurt or not, Lu Qing felt warm in his heart and couldn't help but smile. His fingers moved quickly, and he added a smiling emoji. I'm fine. There's just a bruise on my back. I asked little Ming to apply the medicine bottle you gave me and rub it open. I have to say, that medicine bottle is really good. Of course, I have good taste. Yenjika sent a proud emoji. Why did you go to the lakeside? Didn't we just say goodbye to each other? Was it a practice or a fight? Lu Cheng saw her curiosity and didn't want her to misunderstand him as a bad boy who liked to fight. He quickly replied, I was so happy today that I wanted to do a steak by the lakeside to calm down. You're so funny, Yinjika replied. Lu Cheng continued. But when I arrived at the lakeside, I met two punks who deliberately provoked me. I didn't want to talk to them, but they surrounded me directly. There was an acquaintance behind them. An acquaintance? Yinjika sent a cute emoji with a question mark above its head. Yes, an acquaintance, Wu Dong from the martial arts club. Lu Cheng didn't keep her guessing. Wu Dong? Then how did you beat them? Are you really okay? Yinjika didn't send an emoji this time, but a series of questions. I'm fine. If I was, would I still be here talking with you? Lu Cheng said humorously. Yinjika sent her most common dumbfounded emoji. Then what happened? Wu Dong is an expert of amateur second pin. You didn't get hurt in the fight with him. Of course I couldn't beat them. Judging from their footwork, they should be of amateur 8th or 9th pin. At that time, I only had one thought in my mind. Lu Cheng deliberately kept her guessing. Conversation was about interaction. What thought? Yinjika sent a curious emoji. Of the 36 stratagems, the best strategy is to run away. If you can't beat them, run away. Lu Cheng sent a laughing emoji. It was too late. Before they surrounded me, I ran to the lakeside woods. Yinjika sent a cute emoji of Ultraman and Little Monster eating ice cream side by side. You're so smart. Then how did the fight start? You've been caught. You flatter me. After running for a while, I arrived at the foot of the library hill. I was going to ask for help from the teachers and security guards, but I found Wu Dong and the other two running so fast that they were out of breath. The distance between them was getting wider and wider. At that time, I thought to myself, if they are so tired that they can't even straighten their backs and their limbs are so weak that they can't exert any strength, maybe I can give it a try and get some real combat experience? In this part, he slightly modified the idea of a real battle and changed it to that of being chased for a while. He didn't want Yinjika to have the impression that he was a troublemaker. After the teenage years, many girls would not have a good impression of a troublemaker. Well, what happened next? Yinjika urged him with a blinking expression. After that, I changed my mind. I went around the library hill and ran into Westboro. I even deliberately slowed down so that they wouldn't stop chasing after me. Lu Cheng told the story bit by bit, leaving hooks to arouse Yinjika's interest. When they stopped and were out of breath, I immediately turned around and ran back. They were so tired. Didn't you feel anything? Yinjika sent an emoji with a blinking question mark above its head. Hee, to tell you the truth, I'm a long-distance runner with good endurance. I just kept a low profile in high school. Lu Cheng boasted. Okay. Yinjika didn't say much about this. She sent an emoji with blinking eyes. After you ran back, the first thing you dealt with was those two punks? Yes, you're so smart. Lu Cheng was not stingy with his compliments. Everyone likes compliments as long as it's not exaggerated or melodramatic. Therefore, when chatting with girls, you should be willing to give compliments when you have the chance. If you don't have the chance, then create one. Of course, there are some masochists who need to be attacked and ridiculed. Nothing is absolute in this world. Yinjika sent an emoji with a blushing face. Lu Cheng continued. I was worried that those two punks might have knives or daggers, so I dealt with them first. Besides, they were much weaker than Wu Dong. In gaming terms, I was clearing the field, so that I wouldn't be involved in a chaotic battle. I don't have much experience, so I would be at a disadvantage. He explained in detail because he felt that with Yinjika's hobby, she would be happy to hear the details of actual combat and the specific psychological activities. I think so too. Yinjika sent a slightly complacent emoji. Great minds think alike. Lu Cheng praised again. Those two punks were indeed out of breath and had no strength in their hands and feet. I stepped forward and punched one of them, knocking him down and almost suffocating. Then I threw him to the other one, followed by a whip kick to the other one's face bone, making them temporarily unable to fight. After that, I began to speak and formally challenged Wu Dong. What do you think is the best way to fight at this moment? Yenjika sent a contemplative emoji. Wudong's strength is not strong, but his advantage is flexibility and agility. When he's tired, it's better to fight at close range, so that he won't have time to rest. Yes, smart. That's what I think. Also, Coach Sure once told me that smoking is bad for Wudong's health, and he is already half disabled. If I put a little more pressure on him, he probably won't be able to catch his breath. So I imitated the snake's steps and approached him. I kept fighting at close range. After a few moves, his lower body became weak, and his stance was broken by me. He could only roll away to avoid my attacks. And then, how did the injury on your back come about? Yenjika asked, with eyes and question marks flashing in her emoji. With a smile on his face, Lu Cheng lay on his side on the bed. At that time, I wanted to take advantage of the situation and attack, but Wudong grabbed a handful of sand and threw it at my eyes. I didn't expect this at all, so I could only turn sideways to protect my eyes. Some sand got into my eyes, so I couldn't open them. Yenjika immediately sent a cat emoji of, "I'm so scared that I dropped my dried fish." And then, how did you turn the tables? You couldn't open your eyes, but you only got hit by one punch. I was very flustered at that time. Fortunately, I turned sideways and only got hit on my back. But I also lost my center of gravity. Relying on the yin-yang stance, I barely managed to adjust my center of gravity and didn't fall. After a few big steps, I steadied myself. During these big steps, I was also constantly changing my center of gravity and direction. That's why I didn't get hit by Wudong's consecutive attacks. Lu Cheng enjoyed his feelings at that time. After I steadied myself, I was surrounded by darkness. I couldn't see anyone, and I was inexplicably scared and panicked. Fortunately, Coach Sure found that I was talented in stance training, and secretly taught me the condensation stance of the ice sect, and the lightning and fire stance of the thunder sect. The condensation stance calms the mind and sharpens the senses. It's really suitable for this kind of blind battle. Yenjika sent a relieved emoji. She had a solid understanding of all aspects of martial arts. Lu Cheng sent a proud smile emoji. Relying on the condensation stance, I regained my calmness. I heard Wudong's deliberate footsteps, and smelled the smell of alcohol on his body. But I pretended not to notice it, and deliberately defended in a daze. When I was sure that he was beside me from all aspects such as heavy breathing, I suddenly changed to the lightning and fire stance, and attacked him first. I kicked him so hard that he was rolling on the ground, and couldn't get up for a short time. Wonderful. I think it's even more wonderful than tonight's match. Yenjika sent a naughty dog emoji. Chung, maybe you can really be my idol in the future. Lu Cheng held back his pride and happiness. Don't praise me like that. I'll be proud. By the way, do you have any actual combat experience? When chatting with girls, you should know how to ask questions. You may not be able to get the point by yourself. So the best way is to let the other party talk. No matter what the topic is, as long as it's from you, I like to hear it. Of course, there are techniques to asking questions. Asking questions like checking a household register is the most embarrassing and annoying. Me. Yenjika sent a pondering emoji with wind blowing by. I haven't participated in the amateur ranking event. I only have 2 actual combat experiences. The first time was when I was in the 3rd year of junior high school, and got home late. Not long after I left school, I was suddenly patted on the back. I was so scared that I subconsciously threw the person behind me. Only after I fell did I realize it was my dad. He saw that I was late, and came to school to pick me up. He said that his life was full of bad karma. When he was young, he was thrown by my mom, and when he was middle-aged, he was thrown by me. Dad, please forgive me for being unfilial. I want to be like that too. I really envy my father-in-law. Lu Cheng thought to himself shamelessly and played along. You'll get used to it soon. What about the second time? The second time was when I accompanied my best friend to meet a scumbag. He used my best friend's savings as a student, and had a foot in 2 boats at the same time. When we arrived there, the mistress wanted to beat him up, but the scumbag still protected her. I was so angry that my lungs were about to explode, So I beat them up. They have some martial arts foundation, so it can be considered as actual combat. Yenjika sent an angry emoji. What a scumbag. He should be castrated. Lu Cheng took the side of his female comrade without hesitation. Your best friend was blind. I didn't expect you to be a heroine. Once the topic started, they talked until 10:30 without any awkward silence. Lu Cheng said goodnight with great perseverance and fell asleep happily. The next day, by the lake, Lu Cheng couldn't hold back his pride and impulse to show off. He said to Gizershur, Master, I beat Wudong last night. Gizershur raised his eyebrows. Beat Wudong? You must have relied on your abnormal endurance to beat him until he was out of breath. Right? He saw through me. Lu Cheng didn't know what to say. I can figure it out even with my toes. You can show off in front of me when you can beat Wudong in the martial arts arena and become the main force of the martial arts club. Gizershur said proudly. As for this year's national martial arts competition, you'd better be a logistics support or a cheerleader. Watch and observe more. Lu Cheng was not surprised or disappointed. After all, he had only practiced martial arts for 3 weeks. Speaking of which, Master, the martial arts competition will be held next weekend, right? Yes. And this year's opening ceremony will be held at Songqing University. There will be a first pin expert as a guest. Gizershur said. Who is it? Lu Cheng asked excitedly. This was not only his own curiosity, but also a topic to talk about with Yenjika. Gizershur smiled. It's not a titled expert. It's Liang Yifan from Shanghai. Him? Good. I also admire him a lot. Lu Cheng said happily. Liang Yifan was a martial artist who was a late bloomer. When he was young, he could only practice ordinary martial arts, and was a sparring partner in the martial arts club. At 22 years old, he was only of amateur second pin, even worse than Chen Zhonghua of the martial arts club. But even so, he was gradually honed and recognized. He broke the rule of no hope for the rest of your life if you can't reach physical invulnerability before 30, and stepped into the top 3 pin at 32 years old. He was an ordinary and steady man who cherished family ties. For martial arts enthusiasts like Lu Cheng, Liang Yifan was the template of their fantasies. Late bloomers are exactly like us. Chapter 23. Worship. Gizershur smacked his lips, as if he disdained Lu Cheng's idea. When you can defeat the martial artist you worship, that's the greatest respect you can show them. Worship. Respect. Then defeat him? Hearing Gizershur's words, Lu Cheng's heart was set ablaze. It was the flame of ambition, not YY, but ambition. Can I really? The flame made Lu Cheng tremble slightly. He completely forgot about the pride he had after defeating Wudong with his wits, adaptability, and strength. He changed the topic and said, Master, do you think we can enter the national final in this martial arts competition? The National University Martial Arts Competition was divided into 8 divisions. The top 2 of each division would enter the final circle and finish the competition in one place. The division competition was held from November to January, and the national final was held in May. Gizershur rolled his eyes and said, Do you think I'm a god? You want to enter the top 2 after only 1 month of special training? But Lin Ke will join us. Lu Cheng's voice became weaker and weaker. Master, what do you think our martial arts club is in the division universities? We're better than a lot of newbies. But it's impossible for us to enter the top 4. Maybe we can fight for the top 8. Gizershur thought for a while and said, A professional 9th pin fighter is very impressive for freshmen, but not necessarily for juniors or seniors. Songqing University is not the only school with good seedlings, good foundation, and good coaches. Last year, there was at least 1 professional 9th pin fighter in the top 8 of the division. And that was last year. Now a year has passed. Except for those who have graduated and left school, they won't stay still. Maybe they'll relax and regress. Lu Cheng complained silently, but didn't dare to say it out loud. How many professional 9th pin fighters are there in Shanbei University? He asked curiously. They were last year's national champions. Gizershur smiled and said, Why are you asking them? You haven't learned how to walk yet, and you want to run? Last year, Peng Liyun was of professional 8th pin. With his talent and hard work, he should be able to advance 1 pin in 1 year, before the physical invulnerability. Their martial arts club's president, Su Wanyan, is also of professional 9th pin, but he has some supernatural ability, so he can't be treated as a normal professional 9th pin fighter. A professional 9th pin fighter graduated in his 4th year. But there seems to be another new recruit. This kind of strong martial arts school is much more attractive than Songqing University in this aspect. Just by listening to the introduction, Lu Qing deeply felt the huge gap between Songqing University and Shanbei University's martial arts level. Even without Peng Liyun, Su Wanyan was very likely to defeat his own martial arts club. Was this the difference between an ordinary strong school and a national champion? Seeing Lu Qing's solemn expression, Gizershur chuckled. So this year is a training exercise. Next year, when Lin Ke has improved, you've grown up, and the other's martial arts level has improved significantly, we'll have a chance to make it to the national finals. You've also grown up. Lu Qing was excited and proud. He blurted out, Master, I didn't expect you to think so highly of me and think so highly of me. He mimicked Crayon Shinchan, scratching his head and smiling foolishly. Gizershur said, I'm just saying. You don't have to take it seriously. Lu Qing looked up at the sky and pretended not to be embarrassed. Gizershur stopped talking about the martial arts club and changed the topic. After yesterday's fight with Wu Dong, I believe you've learned a lot. And I've seen your practice with Li Mao. You can be considered to be familiar with the moves. From today on, I'll teach you the moves of the body refining stage officially. The previous moves could only be considered as a combination of basic movements and force skills. Lu Qing restrained his excitement and saluted. Thank you, master. What's the move? Gizershur coughed and forced himself to hide his playfulness. The root of my inheritance is the Ice Divine Kung Fu, which is now the unique skill of the Ice sect. But in the body refining stage, you don't have to care too much about the attribute of the Kung Fu. It won't affect your physical invulnerability in the future. Today, I'll teach you the body refining Kung Fu, derived from the unique skill of the Ice sect, 24 Blizzard Strikes. 24 Blizzard Strikes? At this exciting moment, Kai Zhongming's face suddenly flashed in Lu Cheng's mind. If little Ming were here, he would definitely say, 24 Blizzard Strikes? The first move would be called, I'm your father. This move is known for its ferocity and craziness. But the mind must not follow the craziness. Instead, it must be as calm as water condensing into ice. Together with the explosive power of the lightning and fire stance, it's definitely the best in the body refining stage. Gizershur began to explain. Lu Qing listened very carefully. This was the first set of moves he had learned. Time flew. He had just memorized the key points of the 24 Blizzard Strikes when it was time to train with the other members of the martial arts club. Gizershur stood in front of the members of the special training and looked at the remaining 12 members. He said in a low voice, Wu Dong was injured in an accident and can't come to the special training for a while. Next week is the regional competition of the National Martial Arts Club. I'll announce the main force and the substitutes. Li Mao and the others, who had the potential to compete for the main force and the substitute, held their breaths and the atmosphere became tense. Yenjika nodded slightly at Wu Dong's unexpected injury and couldn't participate in the special training. Then she smiled at Lu Qing. The main force is Lin Ke, Chen Zhonghua and Sun Jian. Gizershur gave the answer that everyone agreed with. Even if Wu Dong was not injured, he was no match for Sun Jian. Chen Zhonghua's hands had recovered after half a month of recuperation. After announcing the main force, Gizershur glanced at Chen Zhonghua. You're a senior and will graduate in July next year. You may not have a chance to meet us in the future. You don't need to do your best in this regional competition. But you've been in the martial arts club for more than 3 years and been the club president for almost 2 years. Don't you have any feelings for this club? 4 years have passed. Don't you want to leave something here? Don't you want your junior brothers and sisters to say that Songqing University Martial Arts Club began to return to glory when Chen Zhonghua was the club president? Fame and fortune were hard to escape in life. Chen Zhonghua, who was expressionless, nodded solemnly. Don't worry, Coach Shi. I'll do my best. If I can get into the top 8 in the last year, I won't have wasted these years. Shi smiled satisfactorily at his good attitude. You'll definitely get into the top 8. He turned to the others and said, the 3 substitutes are Li Mao, Lin Hua and Guiqing. In a similar group martial arts competition, each side would have 3 people fight in order. The winner would continue to accept challenges until all 3 people from one side were defeated. Then the competition would be considered over. Since the name list and order of the 3 people to fight were determined by the coach before the competition started, it was very important to determine the opponent's members and order. This was so that the coach could consider the exchange, counterattack, and consumption tactics. In a martial arts competition, not to mention professional fighters with weapons licenses, even in an amateur competition, there was a saying that punches and kicks had no eyes. No matter how good the referees and supervisors were, they couldn't prevent all injuries. So substitutes were necessary. Hearing her name, Guiqing was a little surprised. She was stunned for a moment before she cheered and high-fived Yinjika beside her, as if she had already won the championship. You're in good shape and have great potential. After 3 weeks of training, even if you can't reach the level of amateur 4th pin, you'll be one of the best in 5th pin. Shi was never so mean to girls. Wu Dong was injured. Except for Li Mao, Lin Hua, and Sun Jian, the other seniors were all of amateur 5th pin. It was natural to choose Guiqing. It's a pity that Xiaoming didn't participate in the special training. Lu Qing sighed secretly. As for the rest of you, Yanjika and Li Xiaowen, find other girls during the martial arts class and form a cheerleading team. Create a cheering atmosphere in the stands. Lu Cheng and Wu Meng, you guys gather 20 to 30 male members and cooperate with the school security department and the student union to do the security work. Shi continued to order. Everyone was stunned. After a long time, Chen Zhonghua finally asked, Coach Shi, what's the security work? Shi laughed and said, you don't know? This year's opening ceremony is in Songqing University. There will be a 1st pin fighter here. You don't have to worry about his safety. All of you together won't be able to defeat one of his hands. Before he finished, most of the special training members were excited. Which mighty pin fighter? Who? Can we all ask for his signature? Shi coughed and said, we'll know who he is in a few days. The 1st pin fighter himself doesn't need our protection. He should be protecting us. The specific security work is to cooperate with the school security department and the student union to block the paparazzi, the fan club, and the fan club. If there's a chance, I'll help you to ask for his signature. Long live Coach Shi. The special training members shouted in unison, as if their tiredness had disappeared. After shouting, they looked at each other and inexplicably felt that they were a team. Even Chen Zhonghua's eyes softened when he looked at Lin Quebec. Shi smiled and stretched out his hand to signal them to calm down. The district competition is around the corner. We still have a lot of things to do. First, we need to collect information. Divide it among yourselves and find out all the information and videos of last year's district competition and national competition. When the draw is over and the opponent is confirmed, the main force and substitutes will immediately watch the corresponding video to understand the enemy. As soon as he finished, Lin K raised his hand and said, Coach Shi, I have all the information. Good, very good. Remember to pass it to me. Shi nodded with satisfaction. This was the first time Lu Qing heard Lin K speak so much since he joined the martial arts club. He couldn't help but want to complain. According to talker Kai Xiaoming, when Songqing University Martial Arts Club participated in the competition in the future, everyone would sympathize with them, because the commentator would say that the main force of Songqing University Martial Arts Club, Lin K, was born deaf and mute, but strong in will. Second, in a week, I'll teach you the first 12 moves of the 24 blizzard strikes of the ice sect. Shi stretched his muscles. Hee, I can learn 24 moves while you can only learn half. This is the difference in treatment. Lu Qing felt a little proud and took the opportunity to review and master the first part. At noon, the sparring session was over. Lu Qing came to Yinjika and Guoqing again, as usual for the past few weeks. I wonder which first pin expert will come this time. Yinjika took the initiative to ask, full of curiosity. Lu Qing chuckled and said, I know. Who is it? Yinjika's dark eyes were shining brightly, making people unconsciously indulge in them. Liang Yifan from Shanghai. Lu Qing didn't keep her in suspense. Liang Yifan? Yinjika's slightly thin face was filled with joy. He's also my idol. Guoqing beside them was also very excited. You have so many idols. Lu Qing teased. Yinjika puffed up her cheeks and said playfully, If it was the Dragon King Cheng, I wanted to break into your security. Would you go easy on me? I've been a traitor for a long time. Lu Qing answered without hesitation. Both of them burst into laughter. After a while, Yinjika sighed and said, I hope Coach Shi can succeed and let us get the autograph. Autograph? Lu Qing repeated silently. Chapter 24. A week later, at 1 o'clock in the morning, near Songqing University Hotel, it was not quiet at night. Lu Qing and Kai Zongming wore the martial arts club's special training suits and held walkie-talkies, guarding the door. Behind them was the brightly lit lobby. In front of them were the shadows of the security department, the student union, and other members of the martial arts club. The school is so stingy. They only gave us a martial arts suit when they asked us to stay up late as security guards. Kai Zongming tugged at his white martial arts suit with black edges and complained, If it wasn't for my girlfriend who likes Liang Yifan and wants his autograph, I wouldn't have come. Lu Qing looked at him with hidden bitterness. Talker, that's not what you said. You said we'll be brothers for life. Cheng, who will help you if I don't. Although I'm so active because I want to get Yinjika's autograph. Haha. Kai Zongming laughed dryly. If it's just an autograph, I can definitely entrust it to you. Didn't Qin Mo say that if you can help him get an autograph, he will provide you with food for a week? If it wasn't for our brotherhood, why would I stay up late to accompany you? Why isn't Liang Yifan here yet? He said his flight is at 12:05. It'll take him more than 40 minutes to get here. Planes are rarely delayed. Lu Qing looked outside and saw people everywhere. Some were squatting, some were walking back and forth, some were holding banners, some were whispering, some were looking excited, and some were holding cameras. Most of them were young people. Kai Zongming looked at the scene and sighed. It's already midnight, but there are still hundreds of fans waiting here. The appeal of a first pin Mighty Ones is really awesome. This is the only place we can see, Lu Qing said with a smile. Lu Qing chuckled. Fortunately, I've pulled some strings with Geezer Sure. Otherwise, how do you think the two of us can stay here? Those guys from the student council and the security department are all jealous. This is a good place to get close to him. Cheng, I'll praise you more. Kai Zongming gave him a thumbs up. When we change shifts at dawn, will you still go to practice martial arts? Lu Qing left the house at 5 o'clock every day to train. He could hide it from others, but he couldn't hide it from his roommates. He had already explained to them that he was going to increase the amount of martial arts training. Of course I have to go. I'll go back to sleep after I'm done with the training. Otherwise, I'll slack off if I don't have an excuse for not going. Lu Qing answered calmly. He didn't find it hard or tiring at all. Instead, he took it for granted. While the two of them were talking, there was suddenly a commotion outside. They looked up and saw 3 black cars in the distance. As the vehicle slowly approached, the surrounding sound waves exploded one after another. Many people were shouting themselves hoarse and rhythmically. Liang Yifan! Liang Yifan! Liang Yifan! Hey, hey, hey! Those at the door, hurry up and stop the fans and reporters from coming closer. Lu Qing and Kai Zongming's walkie-talkies buzzed. Both of them were a little shocked by such a scene. After looking at each other, they came back to their senses and quickly rushed out. Together with the other security guards, they came to the side of the car that had just stopped and formed a large circle. According to the practice method, they held hands and blocked the tide of fans and reporters who were trying to fish in troubled waters. The force of the tide was quite fierce. Lu Cheng and the others' outer defense line was almost broken through. Fortunately, Kai Zongming's strength of amateur fifth pin was not just for show. Lu Cheng's coordination and strength had improved a lot. They barely managed to stop the tide, which attracted the angry stares of the fans. Do you think there will be a group of people on the Shanghai Club or Liang Yifan's BBS live broadcast? A group of people will scold us security guards as boorish hooligans who don't know what's good for them and don't care about our feelings? Under such circumstances, Kai Zongming still couldn't stop his mouth. He found a chance to talk to Lu Cheng. Lu Cheng nervously stopped him and answered casually, "Maybe they will frame us for beating people up and bullying people. Even if there is no news, we have to make some news." At this time, the car door was opened. Lu Cheng knew from the more intense reaction of the fans that Liang Yifan had appeared. Unfortunately, he couldn't see him because his back was facing him. The tide became more turbulent and the shouts louder. Lu Cheng felt that his defense line was about to be broken. At this critical moment, he heard a clear and mellow voice. "Everyone, please be quiet. I, Liang Yifan, am flattered to receive such love from all of you. But it's already early in the morning. We can't disturb other people's rest for our own sake. Everyone be quiet. I'll be here with you." In such a noisy and chaotic scene, this voice was no different. It was equally clear to everyone's ears. The noise stopped abruptly. The outside of the hotel returned to silence. The crowd also stopped. Lu Cheng and Kai Zongming turned their heads and saw a man of medium height standing on the stairs at the entrance of the hotel. His height was similar to Lu Cheng's. He was wearing a simple dark blue martial arts suit. He had a calm temperament and was not an ordinary person. Just by standing there, he had the feeling of the deep sea and the boundless earth. People directly ignored his ordinary appearance. "It's really Liang Yifan," Kai Zongming whispered. Liang Yifan was in his 30s. It was the age when men were most mature but not old. Facing the eyes of the fans, he smiled gently and said, "It's hard to return the favor. Everyone, please line up and sign. I won't go up until tonight. Of course, don't make a noise. It's not good to disturb others. We are all people with good manners." Hearing this, the fans were inexplicably moved. The girls even covered their mouths with tears, crying and saying that Liang Yifan was so nice. The walkie-talkie of Lu Cheng and the others sounded again. "You guys maintain order and let them line up quietly." With the change of responsibilities, Lu Cheng and Kai Zongming started to work again. They stopped the people who cut in line and let the fans line up orderly. One by one, they went up to sign. The reporters next to them were flashing their cameras, recording the scene. The night was quiet. Kai Zongming looked at Liang Yifan, who was earnestly signing autographs under the lights. He then looked at the fans and reporters who were seriously waiting in line. Suddenly, he turned to Lu Cheng and said in a low voice, "Cheng." "What?" Lu Cheng asked blankly. Kai Zongming took a deep breath and said in an unprecedentedly serious tone, "I want to join the special training." "Ah." Lu Cheng looked at him deeply and pursed his lips. He seemed to feel the same way. He didn't say much while maintaining order. Minutes and seconds passed. At 3 o'clock in the morning, there were only a few people left in the line to sign autographs. The crowd around them was reluctant to leave. Seeing that the line was getting shorter and shorter and was about to end, Lu Cheng exhaled and suddenly stepped out of the line. Taking advantage of the geographical advantage, he was at the end of the line in a few steps. There were only 3 fans in front of him. "Hey, who are you? What are you doing? Go back." An angry voice came from the walkie-talkie. Lu Cheng reached out his hand and turned off the walkie-talkie directly. At this moment, he felt that he was very manly. "Can you give me a punishment for this kind of thing? I'll accept it even if you give me a punishment." Kai Zongming's mouth was half open, and he was stunned for a while. Then he suddenly jumped out and lined up behind Lu Cheng. He also turned off the walkie-talkie. "Cheng, I worship you today," he said in a low voice. Lu Cheng was already in front of Liang Yifan. He took out a small, cute notebook that he had prepared in advance and said a little nervously, "Mr. Liang, My friends and I worship you very much. We hope you can sign an autograph. Liang Yifan smiled slightly and said, Don't worry. You've worked hard all night. I've seen it all. Just take turns to sign autographs. His voice wasn't loud, but it spread all around. The students who acted as security personnel cheered in a low voice. Seeing Liang Yifan turn the pages of the notebook and sign 3 autographs, Lu Cheng was happy and moved. Thank you, thank you. Half an hour later, at the entrance of the hotel. Fortunately, nothing happened this time. If you did something wrong, I'd like to see how you explain it to me. At that time, I can even expel you. The deputy director of the security department roared in front of Lu Cheng and Kai Zongming, carrying out the fiercest reprimand. After a while he said reluctantly, I'll talk to your dean. Whether you'll be punished or not depends on your attitude when the time comes. Teacher, you're right. It's all our fault. We were too young and impulsive. Kai Zongming was always flexible. Lu Cheng also followed suit. After all, he had already gotten the autograph. When the matter was dealt with in their own school, there was a lot of room for negotiation. It was a good tradition of every group to protect their own. After sending the deputy director away, Lu Cheng exhaled and said, You're really good. No wonder you used to be a master of professional 7th pin. After working in the office for so many years, you almost made me lose my concealment of spirit and qi. You were still stance just now. Kai Zongming glanced sideways at Lu Cheng. Yeah. Otherwise, it would be so boring. Lu Cheng said matter-of-factly. At this time, it was close to 5 o'clock. The crowd had dispersed. The hotel was unusually quiet. The autumn wind rustled their clothes. Kai Zongming and Lu Cheng subconsciously fell into silence. Looking at the lights in the hotel lobby and feeling the autumn chill outside, Lu Cheng suddenly said, Talker, do you really want to join the special training of the martial arts club? Aren't you afraid that you won't have time to accompany your girlfriend? Aren't you afraid that you won't have time to sleep in and play games? Kai Zongming exhaled a breath of hot air and said, My girlfriend has always been a straight-A student. I'll encourage her to choose a second major. Also, I'll save the time to video chat with her. Hee. I plan to fly to the capital during Christmas and New Year's Day and date for a few days. Now I need to save money. He came from a well-off family. His monthly allowance was more than twice that of Lu Cheng's, a total of 3,000 yuan. However, he was also a spendthrift. He never had any leftovers. As for the problem of school attendance, with the help of his roommates, he would only miss 3 or 4 classes at most after holidays and weekends. Without waiting for Lu Cheng to speak, he continued. I've thought it through. After graduating from college, we will enter society. We won't have the free time, energy, impulse, and passion like now. I've always liked martial arts. Although I'm lazy, I still often fantasize about it. What's the difference between a man and a salted fish if he doesn't have dreams? I don't want to spend my 4 years in college with nothing but games as memories after classes and exams. My talent is not bad. I'm now of amateur 5th pin. When the time comes, there's still hope for me to enter the professional martial arts circle. Anyway, I'll give it a try. Who knows? Just like how you chase your goddess. Who knows, maybe you'll hit the jackpot. Lu Cheng rolled his eyes at him and said, You're just expressing your feelings. Why are you insulting me? I'm used to it. Kai Zongming laughed. The two looked at each other and smiled. Suddenly, they had a tacit understanding and said the same line at the same time. Life is short. Why not give it a try? That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.